Cool, let's do it.
Please, let's get out of here.
All right, good morning. We're going to get the commission meeting started for September 18th, 2023. The quorum present, so we will do business. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has everyone had a chance to review payroll?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Changes, modifications? I'll move that we approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We have claims against the county in the voucher register. Anybody have any changes or concerns there?
No, sir.
I'll move that we approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I think we had a copy of the treasurer's report here as well. Anybody have any questions or concerns on that?
Questions?
Nope. The only question I had was on the long and short, $600. What does that mean?
You were a treasurer.
I don't remember that ever being the case. You don't know? I didn't know if you would have any.
I don't read, they just give it to me, but I think there was an error with a $600 payment that they took in and then it was applied twice and then they had to fix it or something like that.
Sounds good. So we did review that. We have the minutes. We did have the minutes. We did there. And
Already,
anybody have any changes for the minutes?
No.
All right, I'll move we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Do you need something from us right now?
Maybe hearing.
She's here for the public hearing.
Public hearing.
Okay, no, I just didn't know if you wanted, if you needed something before the
Nope.
meeting started. Okay. All right. Steve? I thought if you needed something immediately, I didn't want to go in for another half hour.
Morning, Steve. I just wanted to be here early. Sure.
That's fine.
It's like,
I
I don't like the first one.
No, I don't mean I'm running into it. Yeah.
So good.
The long weekend.
I think so.
I'll work on it for you. Need to let my fingernails grow. Okay, item number one, they did have a meeting last week and I wasn't able to get a hold of anybody, to talk about how it went, so I'm gonna continue to try this week.
So who had a meeting last week? And
I think the DNR as far as the reclamation process and going through that plan.
just the DNR?
Mhm.
Okay.
So, from what I understand, I believe, Michael was also a part of that.
Still.
Yeah, so, I'll be working to try to get with them this week and keep this thing going,
Get some answers.
so. At the fairgrounds, all planned work is complete and went quite well. We were there for only about 4 days and, addressed many drainage issues that there were, most of which were minor. A lot of the work that we done was pretty much normal maintenance, which is more effective really with a road grader than it is with a tractor and a blade, because it's just gonna, ride over the top. So we went back and started cutting in some swales where the water needed to go and get it moving in different directions instead of all consolidating in certain areas that were gonna cause the washout. So we did a lot of that and pulled some of the shoulders back and benched the roads a little bit so that it can kind of just spread out and not cause so much of an impact. So we'll see how well that does.
They were more than pleased with that, by the way. They were more than pleased with that.
Good.
Very happy.
Last one, road stripe assistance. Davis County has asked for our help. They're looking to purchase a striper and asked for us to demo our painter while doing a road or so in their county. With your approval, we will send our truck 2 men and some materials that we've got, and they will reimburse our expenses as well as materials used if that suits you all. They're looking at purchasing one like we have, and they just want to see how well it works and see how to operate it and the things we do and everything. So it'll be a good learning experience and helping out a neighbor too. So if you're all good with that.
Just a 1 day? I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no problem with it.
Okay. That'll work then.
Okay. That's all I got.
I was just thinking, about using our stuff out of county,
Right.
we pause, but it's probably a good idea. And
One
then
day.
a couple years from now, we need something from them, they'll probably be likely to help us.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want to continue either, so. I mean,
No.
They have every intention of purchasing, but we don't want it to continue, so if this will help them.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
All right, thank you, Steve.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
All right. First thing on my list, Safe Streets for All Action Plan. So we do have a contract from American Structural Point. There are a few markups that Greg and I found, nothing major. Greg actually complimented the contract, so that was cool. But
What was that? I'm sorry.
he actually complimented the contract, so like I said, there's a few markups. I'm gonna get back with them and get them corrected. So nothing major on there. The next thing I do, I need your permission to approach the council, ask for additional appropriation for the county's match on Safe Streets for All. It's one step that I've overstepped that I forgot about. So they're asking, the contract is for $111,000. Our grant was for $84,000. So I was going to approach the council this evening. Obviously, they can't fully appropriate it, but at least get the levy in the rear until we advertise it and go from there. For additional $30,000, hopefully I lit. I don't know where we're going to pull it from for this grant.
So from the beginning, did you know there was a match?
Yeah, I knew it was a match, but then I had to wait till they awarded it before I went and asked for the match.
What percent did the grant require for?
80%. So the grant's for 80%, we do 20. But it's more than that, it's the 100. Originally when I did the estimate, it was 105, so we have 84, which is 80% of that. But then the prices and everything went up, so it's 111. So I asked for 30. It's a little more than 20%, obviously.
I think I have an understanding of it, but what, the Safe Streets for All Action Plan, we have to have this so we can apply for grants on the next level. You have to have this plan to get the next thing.
Correct. This is whenever, in order for us to create jobs to fix safety issues around the county, we have to have this plan in place. Then there's implementation grant to correct these issues.
Okay. Anybody have any issues with Mr. Wendell moving forward to the council to ask them for appropriation? Yeah. Yes, you have our consent to move forward with that.
Okay. And then the last thing is the paving projects. So, Celestine Road North has been completed, and then Kellerville Road, the part of the CCMG has been completed. They did that on September 14th. So 1100 is not, it's, I talked to Rudolph, it's on their schedule, but it's not, they don't know exact date. Like it fell in line. They said, we're starting to see it on the computer screen, so it means it's coming through, but I don't know the exact date when it's going to be.
So when you say complete, that means that the contractor work is complete. You guys start to line them and
For sure.
sometimes they put several inches, then they make a lip on the side of the road. What do we usually do with that? I mean,
It'll settle back out. They try to run it over, the truck to beat it back down. It will settle back out eventually. But
I just didn't know if that was a safety thing, if there was 5 inches of new asphalt, or it looks like 5 inches of asphalt.
Oh, you're talking about, yeah, we'll put solar stone in there and protect that.
You put rock in there
Yeah.
to, okay,
We try to strike the road first while it's clean.
okay. Oh,
And
I
then we'll come
understand,
back
okay.
and put shoulders.
Yeah,
There's
cause
so
I
much
saw
lime there.
Kellerville Road yesterday, it was pretty, okay.
There's so much lime in that rock, obviously, that it does. We start
Sure.
spreading that, it'll just get in the road and then paint that thing as well.
Makes sense.
No, it looks good though, it's a smooth, nice job there. Anybody have any questions on the paving projects?
No.
Anything else, Mr. Wendell?
Nope.
Okay.
Thanks, sir. Let's get something else for us.
Nope, that's it.
So I think we're gonna have several gaps in our meeting today. Due to, we had to have something on the schedule, so we'll try to fill in the best we can. The first thing that is a non-agenda item that I'd like to bring up, I guess it's under discussion items, this is a surplus item. This is for some of our kitchen equipment at the jail. I asked the sheriff to take some action on this, but I wanted to share it with you and just make it official. So in our existing kitchen, we have this group of items here. And we contacted multiple kitchen vendor people to see if anybody would have interest in buying these things. So we took as many of the items we could from the old kitchen that we could use in the new kitchen, and these were items that we, for sizing and for different things that didn't work. So we got one person, one company, the dining company, the restaurant store, we got food service equipment, and they gave us an offer on the items for $3,000, I believe. And I told the sheriff, that sounds good, send the paperwork over and we'll take it, because otherwise it's something we have to further mess with, and we get it all gone with one company. We probably could have made more money if somebody had a full-time job of piecing it out, but this.
So they're willing to take it off.
Yeah, they'll drive up, this includes their labor, them picking it up and getting it out of here.
So remove it and everything.
Nice,
So I thought, this is about as good of a deal as we got, so.
perfect,
I'd
Say
ask
do
for- Do we have the consent of the board to do that?
absolutely.
Okay. Actually, let's just make it formal. So there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items on here. And I'll turn this into
And how much was the offer for?
$3,000. So I'll move that we accept the assignment and bill of sale for $3,000 for these 7 items to be, so we will, 1, accept these items, and 2, declare these items surplus.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Accept these items, what do you mean?
We're basically saying that these 7 items are surplus, and we're accepting their offer.
Got it. You
So
declared it surplus.
so I said it a little backwards there. I sold them, and then we declared it surplus, I did it
Okay.
backwards.
Very good.
But I would like that back, but if you wanted to.
I'll need this for our inventory, I think.
Sheriff, would you mind making us a copy?
No, not a problem.
Thank you, sir.
So,
Sorry, my words weren't coming out properly on that. Okay, another thing, this will be good while the highway department's here. I think I brought this up months ago. We have a guy who lives on 300 North, and he brought up a question about semi-traffic on 300 North. And I said, is it Kimball, is it Meyer, who's doing it? He said, well, there's some farming. He says nobody has any problem with that because that's pretty low speed. But he said he thinks it's a lot of independent haulers, and they use that road to, I guess, a through road. I don't know if they're going to 56 to 231, what they're doing. But he's concerned about the traffic flow there of those semis, and he wondered if we could do anything to stop that traffic or to limit it, or I don't know exactly what we could do. He said, there's something we could do about signage or other solutions. And I know, Brent, I know how you feel about signage and how I feel about it too. I don't know what signage is gonna do.
What road is this?
And I don't even know what the signage would say, unless we just we ban 300 north.
I think what we done before with issues like that is talk to the city police and the sheriff's department as well, because that, a lot of that is the city street, but I think truck traffic is supposed to be running over 100.
Yeah, supposed to.
So, but, and if they're not, you know, it's,
So 300 is going to be 36 from Jasper, it turns into 300 north.
yeah.
So if you take a left at the German American on National Taco Bell Road, you're heading east.
Yeah.
I guess they're having semis going down that road.
Now, at this time of the year, I would
They're not
venture to say they could be
West,
farmers.
I'm sorry, heading west.
They could be farmers more than anything right now, but I don't know. I hadn't noticed anybody.
Say I haven't had anybody call in or anything. I don't think us putting up signs is gonna do us a whole heck of a lot of good.
I mean, are there roads where we have signs that say no heavy trucks, or we say any of that kind of thing? I know there's some of those in the city, but I didn't know if we do that in county roads at all.
And I think we might have one in Ireland, but I think that was, there on, was it South Street, go back to,
That has more to do with turns than,
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. So,
anyway, can he talk with one of you guys and he tell you his concern? Man, I'd like him to be heard. And I don't know exactly what if there's something we could do. Part of me says, I wouldn't want a bunch of semis running by my house either, but
yeah.
that's kind of tough if you have a road right over your yard and people can freely travel the roads.
right, I don't know if there's much we can do. I mean, I guess ultimately you guys can make it a no truck road, but I don't know why you'd wanna do that. It's still a road, I mean, it's still a public road.
And it's long and it's straight and it's
Yeah,
convenient for trucks, I would assume.
right.
Can imagine what else would go through there besides farmers though.
Yeah,
That
I don't know if
road, you know what I'm
there's
saying?
tractor-
Yeah, because that's
What's
a tight
there?
intersection to pull out.
Yeah.
Is it something recent? I mean, because obviously there's been a lot of intersection issues here that are hard to negotiate for big trucks.
Yeah.
They're simply trying to avoid 56 because they can't get through down here.
I think the first
So they're
time,
doing it further north. They could be, and then cutting down.
the first time he wrote to me about it was many months ago. It's been a while. June, he brought it up in June, I guess. And then he brought it up again today.
No truck signs there already or not?
Okay.
I know we dealt with this has probably been 12 years ago when this first came up like that. And I could have swore Jasper had one up on their side. And I don't know if we had one up on our side down by 350 West or not.
I don't know.
I can look.
Anyway, I'll, is there one of you that he should?
You can call me. That's fine.
And I appreciate it, you know, if I was calling in, I was somebody, a citizen, I'd want to be heard. Maybe he has something to share that can be useful for us. I did want to make a mention that there's a Southwest District meeting of Veteran Service Officers. It's held tomorrow, September 19th. So the Veteran Service Office is going to be closed then. They're doing that.
Where's this money gonna go to?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I didn't think about that. Usually you say wherever it came from, but that would have been a building fund probably 30 years ago.
Well, there was a jail construction fund at that time.
My guess would be to put it into the current jail fund if we could, because we had to use more than that to replace the equipment. Is that a possibility?
Well, there's a
A fund that we can spend then on that project?
jail, there is a jail, I mean, we'll look at it to see. I still need to make sure it didn't go to the commissary. or
No,
something like
that's
that.
where I would like to have it. Next up, I guess we can discuss the Zor Church. So we have a letter here from Lee Bilderback regarding the Zor United Methodist Church. And I'll just read a bit of what this says. The Zor Public School Restoration Task Force, a congregation of the Zor United Methodist Church, which is located in Holland and Cass Townships, asks for our support in designation of the Zor Public School, Zor Methodist Church, and Zor Cemetery as Indiana Historic Sites, and ultimately listed on the National Register of Historic Sites. If accepted, this will be the first such designated site in Cass Township, and then they have multiple points here of their rationale. Their request for us is they respectfully ask the DuBois County Commissioners to send a letter of support referencing Zor Public School, Zor Methodist Church, and Zor Cemetery by October 10th to a gentleman in Indianapolis who works with the Department of Natural Resources and Historic Preservation Department. So we have a letter from DNR saying that public comment is available on that as well. I guess we have two things to discuss. One, do we want to send a letter of support, and two, who will write a letter of support?
I support you right now.
Definitely, there needs to be a letter, but
It was neat. I guess I haven't been out there in so long. I looked on the Google Maps, and it's right on the border. But there is a neat old schoolhouse back there and a church, and
nice. I haven't seen it. It's nice.
I have this weekend.
it's nice. It's kind of neat. So should we roll the dice and write the letter?
I support you writing.
I'm a serious.
Wow, that's great.
I'm not writing it.
Or Greg.
Like for me to write a letter, let me know what it's about. I was writing notes, so.
It's all in those two letters right there.
So let's, okay, so we support it. Let's put it in the record. One, I'll move that we send a letter of support referencing the Zor Public Schools, Zor Methodist Church, and Zor Cemetery in support of their action.
I will second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
So they want to be on the historic.
Indiana Historic Sites, they want to do that, you want to look at these here. And then they'll probably take it from there and go to the National Historic Sites. Another miscellaneous item, we had a Community Corrections Advisory Board meeting followed by a JRAC meeting on Tuesday, and Life Springs is one of the, it's a, trying to think of the best way to put this. There were some dollars available, and some of it's going to Life Springs for some services. And here's one of the services that we're doing. It's called Life Spring Health Systems Turning Point Center Crisis Stabilization Unit. Someone to talk to, someone to respond, somewhere to go. So what can happen, and this is in DuBois County, it's in other places as well. But if a person has a crisis that isn't necessarily a law enforcement issue, they can call this number. So it would be, the short version is, I think it's a way that if somebody's having an issue, the thing most people would do if, oh, well, this person's acting funny or this person's acting whatever, call law enforcement. This is a way to help people with a mental health issue or to help people with something without it going to that level, because maybe they haven't committed a crime. It's not an emergency where they have to go to the hospital or need law enforcement, but they may need resources or get treatment. So they can call this number, these folks arrive, and they give the people the appropriate assistance with the mental health concern or substance abuse issue. If they are willing to get help with their substance abuse issue, they'll help them get into treatment. If a person is, I'll just let you have this, but I wanted to let it be known to the public if people are listening or paying attention that it's a voluntary program, and they will bring people on site, and they get there within, I don't remember if it's an hour or 2 hours, that someone will be there in person to help talk to you about your situation. And they said, something that I thought was interesting something that's a crisis to a person making a phone call may not be a crisis to us. They may be having a breakdown due to a family issue that might be easily manageable by others and not by them, and they're able to call these people and not have it, basically to help people where they are, without getting law enforcement involved. So the number is 800-456-2117, and it's a crisis call center. So for people that are local that are having issues with something, this is a good place to call to get some help. And somebody will come on site if necessary. Otherwise, if they can talk to you on the phone, that'll be fine. They'll do an assessment and they'll find a way to help you. So I thought it was a good program. So what it was is JRAP earlier in the year applied for a grant. We had all kinds of things that we wanted some stuff for the community corrections, something for the sheriff's department, and then Dove House, Next Step Recovery House, this one, the hospital. So there were a lot of people that were involved in it. And so community corrections didn't get anything, sheriff's department didn't get anything, but these that provided services directly to people, these kind of things we did get money for. So we're supporting this. Or the grant is supporting this, but it was part of the grant. Any questions or comments on that? Okay. On that letter, if I type it up, we put it on the letterhead. Did I mention to the board a couple of weeks ago that Mr. Kleesner and I met with Crossvine Solar? I don't know if I mentioned this at the last meeting. Anyway, they gave us a big book of stuff. If you'd like to see some of the planning, the economic impact, the land use analysis, all of the stuff that they did. This is the one that would be directly across from the airport. And they have something called, I forget what it was, glint and glare maybe, I think, where they, because that's the first thing that I've heard people ask is, well, aren't those things going to be shining a lot of light up at airplanes? And they even do a test for that. They're not required to, but they do, and that that's not going to cause any issues for the airport. I think Travis has been involved a little bit as well. He basically shared with us a executive summary. I think he met with you as well, didn't he, Brent? And they may propose some improvements on South 400 West. They're looking at maybe getting 1,600 acres under contract, but their actual footprint will be about 650 acres. I don't know if you guys wanted to hear any of this or not, but if you're interested about more of it, his contact information's here. The whole book of information is there. The FAA has approved this project where it is. Another thing that I think is nice is they're not doing any clear cutting. It's not like there's forest and clear cutting. They can put these up. This is all open space. We talked about the toxicity of the panels, if there was anything that we had to worry about with that. We talked a lot about decommissioning agreements. So it was really just an information session. They're still not to the point of asking us for anything other than they're gathering information. So, any questions on that? No. Mr. Oak, you want to come up? How are you today, sir?
I'm good.
Good.
Morning. I got 4 things I'm here to talk about. This one here is the air condition in the computer room downstairs.
The room behind the records library?
Yes. I called 3 people, got quotes from 2 of them. One's from Messmer's and one's from Marrier's. Messmer's was the cheapest. What it is, it's we're adding more and more stuff down to the server computer room, or I call it server room. I don't know really what it is, but
Fire closet.
it gets hot down there, and we need air conditioning to keep everything cool. Like this winter, when we turn the air conditioning off, turn the heat on, there will be no air conditioning at all down there.
So is there a heat vent? I mean, is there a vent going in there at all, or is there nothing going
The
in?
equipment puts off heat.
Right,
So when you turn the heat on in the wintertime, there'll be no air conditioning. The air conditioning to the building is done.
right. I'm saying, like now, is there an air conditioning duct that goes into there? This will just help keep it cool during the winter while we shut the vent.
Yeah. Plus it'll help out,
Even in the summer.
plus it'll help out in the summertime, yeah.
You go in there, it's warm.
And the
The warm and computer stuff doesn't do good together.
the basis for this was that we want to protect our equipment. Did Matrix say this was a?
Well, when we were putting in the new core switch, which was about a $40,000 project, they were saying, it's really warm down here, we need to do something, and that was just us working down and putting it in. And now that it's live, it's putting off a lot of heat itself.
You're gonna put out too much heat even in the winter time?
Well, when you put it in a cooler environment, it's better.
Right, but I mean, are we gonna run the air conditioning
Yeah, we
unit
are.
even in the winter?
Yes.
We do that in the server room now.
That's like out at 911, they got so much equipment out there that we run air conditioning most of the time out there. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be a separate unit that will just cool that room. Be one of them. There's one sitting on the other side right now
In
outside.
my office in the back room where the servers are, it's dedicated 24/7, it just runs all the time. For that room.
So do you find that it would be necessary for us to ask Matrix if this is necessary, or? do you
Oh, I
think
know it's
that-
necessary, they've already told me.
Okay,
I think it's necessary. It's gotta
When we
be done.
installed it, they recommended it.
We're putting more and more in there too. I mean, Astro's been adding stuff. Just see
Yeah,
what
it's not one little thing anymore, it's
No.
a whole rack of equipment. And all the security stuff's down there.
what will this do to the exterior of the building? Is there, what are we gonna do there?
Right on the corner where that big green box is, I don't know if you see it. No, you can't really
On
see
the
it.
south side of the building?
Yeah, right there on the southeast corner, there'll be a little Mitsubishi unit. I know
They're not very big.
it's about this,
There's
3 or 4
one on the
feet,
other side,
about 3 or
you
4
don't even see
feet,
it.
yeah. Just
So will
about.
it be hidden behind some of this other stuff, or?
It'll be right up inside the building.
It's kind of like an air conditioning unit at your house.
Anybody have any questions or concerns on this issue?
I mean, for experience, I don't know what else you can do about it.
I know Messmer's has the low bid, but if you look at the proposal from Mariners, there's a 5-year warranty on there.
They got the same, I think it was the
Is
same,
it?
yeah,
Okay, just to clarify.
Yeah.
Sure, okay.
I can't remember exactly. I mean, I remember calling last time we did this. Our Messmer's had the same warranty.
Yeah, because Mariners is showing the train, so Messmer's would be Mitsubishi
It
then?
should be cheap.
Okay,
Yeah, I would say that's a good point. Maybe if we approve the low bid, just ensure that we're getting a similar warranty, so we know we're comparing the same kind of items. That's unfair to the board.
yes.
I'll move that we approve the purchase of the 2-ton capacity mini split system for the basement IT room at a price not to exceed $10,500.
Second.
I know it's $10,200 on the bid, but just in case there's
You
a
said
minor change.
not
So
to exceed what?
10,500. Is there,
10,200.
well, I said 500, just in case there's a
Just in
small,
case there's a change.
a
Okay.
small modification.
So you're doing a low bid or low quote?
Yes. Is there, where's the money coming from? You have it in maintenance?
Well, that'd be the next thing. We have to find out from the council where they want to get it from.
So pending, finding the money, we have made a motion to approve 10,500 for the project. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Did you have a second? Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
The next one is from Astro. I just got this a couple minutes ago, so. The judge says they're gonna be using the third floor courtroom more next year, and they've been using it quite a bit this year. So he wants to put cameras in. There's no cameras in there right now. So he wants to, proposal one is to run, basically a camera that shines into the courtroom and the girls in the office can see it on a little monitor. They got them in the other two courtrooms, and he wants to put one in the third floor courtroom. And then the second proposal would be to run a camera in there that Tom and the security people can watch on their monitor. And then the third one was they're having trouble getting licensed to run this system anymore. It's 10 years old. So that one's up to you guys if you really want to do it. Eventually, we're gonna have to do it. He's thinking this time, we're adding one more camera. He's gonna try to get a license. He don't know if he can or not. If he can't, then I told him maybe steal the camera, bring the camera back in
From a different location.
from the third floor. There's one in the spot that I don't really think we could, or we wouldn't miss it, I don't think. But eventually, we're gonna have to, he says we're gonna have to upgrade our software. I'm guessing, somebody said that we're gonna be having a judge come once a week next year. So that's why he wants to,
Not that I was aware of, but
that's what I've been hearing, I don't know, to help out. And then Judge Weicker uses it quite a bit now.
so I don't think I'm following what's going on here. We can either do one, which means
No.
it's gonna add a camera so that they can view it live only. Yeah, that's $1,015.
All that is a camera just shining in the courtroom, that way the judges, when they walk in, they know who's in there.
Got it. We know that. I think I understand that one. Number two, we could add a new camera that will feed into the regular system. Would that also include the live viewing for the people, or are these gonna be completely separate things?
They're two separate things.
So number one would give them,
Number one is just a camera you mount up where the girls in the office can see it,
the girls on the second floor.
girls on third floor. If there's a girl sitting there, and it helps when the judges walk in. They can see on the screen who's in there, that way they're not walking into,
Right, they don't know what's in there.
That's what we have in the other two.
yeah, the other two courtrooms have. And then the proposal two would be a camera that Tom and, is it Amber?
Yeah.
Amber can watch on their computer screens. And that one records.
So we could do one or two. They really want one, so one has to be done.
He wants both of them. He wants one and two.
And then three is a maybe. At this point.
Yeah.
So we have $2,460, is that what we have here on this front page? So is it my understanding that this option three is $3,600 on its own, or
That's on its own. That's on its own.
Okay, so we'd have to add 1,000 plus 1,400 plus 36.
Yes,
And that's just the software licenses.
yes.
Is our hardware able to run?
He says it will run every, yeah. Yeah. He says what we got now will be able to run
If it's 10 years old that we have now?
over 10 years.
I guess my thoughts would be, if they're gonna let us, if he can find a way to make it work, we might as well do number one and two for now, and hold off on the licenses. I mean, if functionality wise, we're not gaining anything by buying different licenses.
If we, down the road, if we add 2 or 3 more cameras, we're gonna have.
Right, at some
But
point, we're
yeah,
forced
yeah,
to, but
yes.
I say, why spend the money now? if we're
And
not
I-
forced to?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I kind of agree just doing 1 and 2 right now.
And if there's a camera in a place that's not necessary, then might as well move that one. So I guess I'd be okay with items 1 and 2 at this point.
I am too, and unless there was more information about the software that did something.
Sure. If we get a
More than what it
benefit,
currently does, but
Yeah.
otherwise just going to.
1 and 2.
And do we have how are we gonna pay for that one?
I'm gonna talk to the council. I talked to Mike about this the other day, some of this stuff.
And we gotta keep the building secure, and that's a big thing, and I don't think this is a huge cost in the scheme of things, so. How about this, we'll go ahead and I'll make a motion that we approve proposal number 1 and proposal 2 from Astro Security, pending the finding of funding.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Yeah, I see.
Here's another one. This is for censored faucets for all the bathrooms. I've been getting hit up, a couple of different people suggesting motion censored faucets for all the bathrooms.
Okay.
So I got a quote, and that's the only one I got. The others didn't, well, the one company didn't come in, and the other one didn't give me one. So people's just been wanting these. I think if we're gonna open the bathrooms downstairs, it's probably not a bad idea either. That way they won't run all weekend if,
I just think it's a good idea. I don't know how many times I go to the bathroom and they're jerking constantly, and this would shut them off.
yeah, they're left on more than people think. Do
The
what?
ones we have currently are pretty old.
It's more about, I think, the savings it provides, because they're only gonna run if somebody's washing their hands.
Yeah.
And automatically shut off if the sensor doesn't sense anyone.
Well, if you're gonna leave the public restrooms open and nobody's there monitoring them, they could run all weekend.
Okay, so this isn't a huge focus of mine. I wouldn't mind doing them in the basement, but I don't have a strong feeling to do it or not. But
Yeah, I don't have a strong feeling, I don't know what the savings would be, and based on the cost, I don't know what our payback would be, but I would support, I mean, if they needed to be replaced, upgrading them at that point.
Right, absolutely, then.
But I think maybe just the basement restrooms or the ones the public uses more often.
Well, that's what I counted. I counted some of them, like the jury rooms and the judges' rooms. I mean, would them have to be done?
I mean, even here in the annex, I don't think a lot of the public uses these restrooms.
Yeah.
These two probably back here are downstairs, back here probably more than you think.
There's stuff not we think.
That's why I asked how old they were. I say the basement of the courthouse. I think that's where we need to start.
So what's the $498 part on there?
Well, I just divided out the number by the total price.
That's what each cost was when we're doing the thing.
I mean, I'm sure if we go down, I'm sure the price goes up the less we do. I would think.
It's just, I don't know, is this work difficult? I don't know. Or is it just that the units are expensive, or which one is it, or both?
Well, we gotta put some mixers in, that way you don't burn your hands. I mean,
Probably power to
they'll be battery operated. Yeah. Getting some of the old faucets out are hard,
I mean, we're not gonna have to change the sinks in any
No,
way
no.
to, okay,
just the faucets.
okay.
So is our request going to be that Mr. Hope gets a quote to do the basement, and then replace the other ones with this as
needed.
as needed?
Yeah. I think that would be,
Do you think that is a wise decision? Do you think that's a not wise decision? What is your thoughts?
I thought I'd rather do them all at one time, that way they're all the same. So I don't have 6 different brands and 6 different styles.
I think the public restrooms up by the courtrooms are public, and they're used quite a bit.
As far as what you were saying, Mr. Hoffstetter, on that, I don't think we're ever gonna, water's cheap, so I don't think we're ever gonna get necessarily money back, I don't think it's gonna save us a whole lot, but I guess sanitary, it's a little more sanitary not to use the handles.
That's what a lot of people are doing, thinking too. You don't wanna,
I don't wanna make his job any harder, I mean, it's,
$13,000.
yeah, it's quite a bit of money. 12,500, so. All right, I guess, anybody we wanna stick with the basement thing, or do we wanna go do the full deal?
and that's depending on the,
What's that?
that's depending on the money too.
Sure.
I say
We
stick
have
with
we have
basement.
the next section of the LATCF money. And we used a lot of the first 50,000 for courthouse improvements and renovations. Now the second 50 could be used as well.
In that case, I say we do it all.
But we could always use that same money for anything
I
else.
know. But what else do we have in front of us as far as?
What's your fourth thing you're bringing up today?
The
Good
the
question.
drain in the basement, I talked to you about it, talked to Mike about it, it's getting worse. We got a drain in our break room that was draining slow, so I tried to work on it, I couldn't get it, so I finally called Vespers. It had a stink to it, it still does. So they came and they altered it, and they think the pipes broke somewhere.
Oh,
We don't know without running the camera. That's just it.
So here's
Yeah, so I'm trying to get a hold of Brad Poole to come and run a camera to see where it's at. I mean,
can they jet something like that out? Or not?
When it's broken, you might just have the
Exactly.
hole somewhere.
If it's it's better to camera it first, find out what the pipe looks like, then
Then jet it
then
if
jet it.
possible.
the jetting is a possibility,
If,
but I think you need camera first. You do
Well,
it
they-
with the jetter, you
they
got,
they pulled the auger out, they pulled dirt out, mud out.
that tells you right there what
So-
the problem is.
And we're thinking the pipe runs like from the break room down
To,
through a bunch of different basement offices.
perfect.
So we'll have to jackhammer.
Oh, so you think it runs from the north?
We're thinking it runs north,
So it starts at the far end of the building where the breaker is?
but we're thinking it's in between two offices. We don't think it goes from the break room to like where Nancy's little office is, across from the records library. Then where the juveniles records are, and then the bathrooms. It goes that way. So we're thinking it's in between.
Garbage disposal, it backs up.
It's
maybe
getting
we
worse.
need to deal with this first.
Trying to get over Brad. He tells me to call him next time it rains. But I'm gonna call him again today and see if he can at least come and camera it and see what we
Mariners
got.
have a camera too. Most
The city?
of our plumbers do at this point.
Yeah, they all got cameras.
I say they all got cameras.
I think Brad would be, if it comes to digging,
The city of Jasper won't come over and just run?
I don't know if theirs is small enough to get down a drain.
If it's what?
If it's small enough, they've got that big track one, but it only goes down to maybe 8 inch. I don't know if it'll go to a 6 inch pipe.
I don't think they would come do it anyways, do you?
Yeah, they've done it for us in the past.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they do it all the time. I don't know if it'll get small enough. That's the problem, because theirs is on track. Theirs isn't a push. It drives itself.
Hmm.
I don't think it'll get small enough.
Oh, Mark Mariner does, the big truck?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that big robot, yeah, I've seen it. Yeah. that
So
would be
number
there.
4 is a work in progress, but yes, I guess find a way that you think would work to find out what the problem is. Right? Because if it goes 10 feet and it hits mud, or if it goes 90 feet, it's gonna be a big difference.
Because I would,
Yeah, I won't know more till we get a camera.
I wouldn't be afraid of calling any of those plumbing companies, because they're gonna get in there.
Yeah, anyone will, I'm just thinking about doing the work afterwards.
Because Archie did a lot of work for us on the Little League side. Love has done a lot of work, they did a lot of work at the highway department for us. So they've all got access to minis and jackhammers.
Yeah.
Because it's not like they're jackhammering a huge section, right? I mean, it should be
By the time you get done, it's
Depends
gonna
on
be
what they're replacing, probably.
I just thought that
It could be
pipe
six-
didn't look like it went real deep.
6x6 hole by the time it's all said and done, but
Really.
You're down a couple feet, I bet you.
and by the time it gets area working,
And then
So
where's
do
that?
we
I don't
deal with
know.
that first before we deal with the faucets?
I'd say on the faucets, we do the basement faucets, get a price on that and come back, and then we'll see about this other thing as well.
I agree, I don't know. That's almost done that on houses.
So can you do that, see if they can break that down and give us a price for that?
Yep.
And then on the basement drain, we told us about it, I've looked at it, but we don't know until we get in there.
Yeah, I'll try to get it cambered this week, hopefully. See where it's at and what it is.
That sounds like a fun one.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yep,
Thank you, Scott.
DuBois County Community Corrections Advisory Board member replacement.
Do you have something for the basement?
That's one.
Just to present the deed.
The drain, no, I don't have that.
No.
Drain.
Oh,
That's
I
drain
thought-
in the basement.
That's for the bathrooms.
Well, if you got that, I'll take it too.
So we had a resignation on the DuBois County Community Corrections Advisory Board. Johnny Murder was a member for many years, did a great job, added a lot to the board, so we thank him for his service. And we need to have a replacement for him. Our next meeting is in November. I'd like to have one in place before then. These appointments, this would be an appointment to finish out the remainder of the four-year term. That term started January 1st of this year.
Send this back to him. Jean is back.
So I have a person that I think I sent an email with the name earlier this week. Jeremy Kibbe said he was willing to step up and do he meets the qualifications and he is willing to step into that role if the board is okay with that. Otherwise, we can look at other potential candidates.
I saw the candidate that you submitted, and I think you defined up, so. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I'll move that we replace Johnny Murder on the advisory board with Jeremy Kibbe to finish the term that ends December 31st, 2026.
Are you spelling his last name?
Kibby,
Well, Kitty,
Jeremy, Kibby, Kibby.
What's the date in the term again?
12/31/26. Oh, of when Murder quit?
No,
Okay, the end of this.
Mr. Kibbe will serve through 2026.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so that is I'll move that we accept Mr. Kibbe.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. I'm going that way. Aren't you glad you came early?
hey, girls, it is. I'll come to the meetings.
We're happy to have you.
Just Jason.
yes, yes.
Okay.
You didn't hide it.
I said, no.
Jen,
It's like her and cat.
did you
They hide the balls.
Everybody just kind of runs and stares.
No, I
Okay.
didn't go over.
I didn't know.
Did you go?
But we got an email, because there's a bunch of older, you got some dates to set down, because I guess we're going around table.
Because
They don't know.
Yeah.
I can always call Mary, but I really don't want to discuss it.
3 hours around this, I'm like.
So I don't know if she has time to do that before they actually send her like a date for it.
I think she would make herself available anytime you wanted her to.
But I don't want her to make a special trip just to come down. We talked to me, so I thought maybe we ought to wait and see what date. Did you get the email that she sent?
I don't remember. If I did, I've been,
These guys.
but I'm trying to stay out of it so Nick can do that. with
Did you get the
the-
email from Mary about the different dates, to pick the dates?
She did a doodle poll last week.
Yeah.
It was like
Yes.
Thursday or Friday that it came.
Bill.
Yeah, but I was, like I said, I was.
Because you can check whichever dates you're available and then she'll put together what works for everybody. It's a lot.
I didn't look at everybody that was on the email either.
I know Renee said she's out.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's even better. That's a whole.
I think when I get around, there's two on there so far.
And like I said, I didn't look to see who all was on the email, but
I mean, this was just a little bit last time.
so. I guess what I'm saying is, I hate to call her and have her to meet, I missed her meeting the other day. I'm just-
I did too, unfortunately, I couldn't get out of work.
So who was there?
Brett,
Me and Mike, Brent, Daryl was there, and Sean.
Is there any updates on anything or not really?
Not really, I mean, nothing really.
They're wanting to have some public hearing, a meeting at Hayesville.
They set some preliminary dates for those meetings up here in Hayesville. And she's supposed to come out with the minutes and, but nothing,
Nothing set.
Because they need these
No.
right of entry,
Pardon
the right of entry forms they want to get signed.
We can't actually read the resolution.
They haven't sent those out yet?
No,
I'll take a look at it. We have-
Really?
so-
it's.
I think they're waiting for the.
To do it around these meetings.
I think they're waiting for these meetings and.
yeah, remember she had said that they were gonna do.
No, but I thought she was gonna
I
send
tried to
those
keep
out. and then
Oh,
she was
yeah,
gonna try to
sure.
follow us on it.
Once I started meeting, I was like, she hasn't even gotten a list of addresses from us yet.
No.
I mean, she hasn't really talked
Never
about
mind.
what she
She's got
needs.
time to
Yeah.
Quick gander at it, because some of those things are gonna be.
I mean, that was my understanding that, she was gonna start that
There was
process.
one time I
and then
thought we were.
Right, I thought she was
follow
gonna
up
send out
on
a
it.
card
Stuff, so-
to let people know that they were gonna have these right entry things at the meetings, so if we don't have a meeting date yet, it's kinda hard to send a card out, so.
We are.
I think that's the way we're waiting for this meeting, and she's gonna send them over. Grab people.
I'll follow up with her today. I meant to get a phone call with her yesterday.
No, she had done that.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Where, where Nate had met and yes, they wanted their own meeting, so I didn't know what come out of that.
She had to get with the church, see if they were available. I think she's thinking.
I thought we had one time saying you had a question on, so I was
She's gonna
gonna
get
just
the
wanted to
church.
put your eyes on it.
Sure.
Do I? No, I'm the chat, I'll have to sign it.
You guys did it this morning.
You get Cole could maybe.
I just think when you're done with it,
Get that.
Sure.
I'll send you copies.
Sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the things. She's gonna be really calm.
I was at the church before, which was, I thought it would turn out a good spot, so.
You'll bring the resolution in the next one.
Yes.
Yeah, ideally, I just, have it in their community,
Okay.
but
Just in case somebody couldn't make it, they could go to the next.
I will change
Sure.
that. Sometimes I forget to be official too.
She's
I think we've talked about
She's
having it at
thinking
the
common people.
Yeah.
the C-10 building. We talked about having it at the C-10 building.
Right. She was gonna contact Ed Cole.
Yeah, we didn't know that.
I think I told you, Brent, how I feel about where we are with that last time. This seems like another example of people don't really know what's going on. I don't know, again, didn't seem like it's coordinated. It's not clear to me what's going on.
That's why I try to stay included.
yeah, I know, I hate that I missed the meeting the other day.
Well, it was unavoidable for me, I hated it too, but like I said, I would wanna reach out to her, but I don't want her to make a special trip down here just for me. So.
I don't think she'd mind, do you? I mean, she always
No, she'd do
makes
it.
it seem like,
I know.
hey, I wanna serve you guys.
Yeah.
So I mean, that part of it's good. She wants to make herself available.
She'd do it in a heartbeat. She wouldn't think twice.
Or a Zoom
I just kinda
meeting.
hate to ask her
I
to
think
do that, that's all.
it'd be sufficient for me to just have a phone call with her, get an update. I just don't think that, there's a whole lot going on at the moment as we wait for that next funding cycle.
Right.
So, I mean, maybe no news, good news.
That email that she sent out for dates and stuff like that too, so.
From what the city told me, I think we need to have the board made, or we need to have the entity created. We don't have it created. We can't do the grant without having an entity. We can't be ranked.
Seems like there's a lot of work involved in getting that, maybe we have to have members on it.
Do we have to bring
Let's get this,
I think it's just an update.
At a minimum, we gotta get it created so we can probably put the numbers on it.
right?
Yeah.
That's what I say, it seems like we need to get that going.
Even if
Is
the
that
numbers,
for us to do, or is that for her to take the reins, or what?
It's all been submitted and you know where they're coming from, but I think it has to be approved by the state. I think we need to look, find out where it is in the state, because it's been submitted.
I think the petition to form the board, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's all been submitted. I don't know where it stands.
I don't know that we ever passed the petition at any of our meetings, have we?
I don't think we have.
I don't think that.
She gave us some samples, right?
She gave us simple samples at the
Okay.
beginning. I guess it might be a matter of
Okay.
where she's at on that, or if we need to just take those samples and run with them.
Yeah, okay.
To establish the district.
Seems like that's a pretty important next step, you know, too.
Does someone want to reach out to her? Do you want me to reach out to her on that?
I plan to have a phone call with her later
If
today.
you wouldn't mind inquiring about that.
So if you guys have any questions that you want specifically me to talk to her about, if you don't mind sending me an email, I'll make sure I get all of the discussion points in there.
Didn't know if it was about-
Don't know the number not yet, but, we've been working on all the numbers together. And then I'll text you and I'll put this probably. But you gotta sign here, 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 and I think you might have come in No. Hi, Sandy.
Good morning.
So this will be to cover whatever resources
Getting-
we pay for youngsters, for our
At least half of what we paid, that's how the state works. So if we qualify, say we invested $10,000, we can buy this.
That would be better than zero.
That's fine. I'm a pain in the rear, and I think that's it. Sandy signed it.
Thank you.
And I'll give you a total, I don't have that yet, I'm waiting on the final numbers from Tyler.
If you'll scan that to me when you're done with it, though, actually, I have you typed out another review.
I will, thank you.
Thank you.
You want to sign
Okay, so it's 9:00. We're supposed to do a trash court follow-up on Mr. Kent Sites. I don't see Mr. Sites in attendance. Mr. Schneider, do you have an update on anything with that?
I don't have a progress update. The only update I would have is that following our last hearing where the court made a determination of a fine in the amount of $400, and then we'd given him 60 days to bring the property into compliance. Also provided him notice that he was ordered to appear this morning at 9 a.m. for the purposes of determining his compliance with the current orders. I do believe that he has paid the fine in full to the auditor's office. We've received that in. I don't know what the status of the property is, and nor is he here to tell us what progress steps he has made.
I'll go by this weekend.
Okay.
And nothing looks to have changed. I didn't go up into the parking lot and look from that angle. That was just 3 days ago. So.
It's not been my observation, but I'd heard again when the tornado had gone through that it might have impacted his roof to an
It
extent.
did. Took about half of it off.
So
Besides.
I assume that would be one thing he would say. It's not my place to say what he might say to us, so.
Okay, he was ordered to appear today. He has paid his fine. His time to remedy the situation was Friday, I believe. Isn't that how we did that?
60 days, so
You
Yes.
paid.
that's correct, 60 days.
Right, and to remedy the building.
That's correct. We had it set up so that it would be taken care of prior to this morning's communion.
So our options going forward are, we can, do a review of the building again to see if it's still not in compliance.
Yes, you could give him an extension, again, have him come back in there and speak to the situation. We could ask someone from Solid Waste Management District to give us an update on the status as well. Alternatively, we could take steps on our own and build that back to him, but that's incurring costs and things on behalf of the county without anyone here to speak towards that.
Okay, what are the thoughts of the board? Commissioner Stefanoff, we'll start with you.
Well, he's had adequate time. Like I said, I've been by there, I've seen it. I know a tornado came through, it took off part of the roof. But if you go back on the dates, I mean, this dates way back into 21. He's had plenty of time. I think we just move forward and dispose of it as how we see fit.
Commissioner Husted.
Yeah, I don't wanna see this drag out anymore. We could have solid waste personnel go look at it. But again, I just viewing and driving past this weekend, don't see any changes. He knows it's been a problem for a long time and just, I don't feel like there's any attempt to really straighten it up. So I think we should look into, doing the cleaning,
Doing what?
taking care of ourselves.
My concern with, taking action as it is private property. At what, who will make the determination if item A goes in the dumpster? Or if item A, what you do with it to this person that's valuable? It does look bad. I just want to proceed cautiously, taking someone's, confiscating someone's property. And at what level, how much of it do we take? Who makes those determinations when they're on site?
Remedying it is also, I don't know that the costs or expense of erecting a fence that encompasses all of it and makes it no longer visible. I assume that would probably be more expensive than us just going in and disposing of it. But I haven't built a fence.
But I feel like too, at this point, if we say we are gonna come in and dispose of everything that is left outside the building and not, behind a fence in 4 weeks, that is giving him a 4-week extension to take care of the issue. And if, when our crew shows up, nothing's there, then, he's had ample opportunity. That's a total of 10 weeks that we've given him, and not to mention all the time that he's had prior to that.
Our letter did set out that, those are the next steps that we could take if he's not in compliance. And giving him a window that we're coming on this date to remove it. When we first came on, something we did north of town here, northeast of town. That eventually got remedied, for lack of a better term, at no cost to us.
Mhm.
I really think he's gotta see the writing on the wall before he's gonna do anything. The can keeps getting kicked down the road, and he knows it, and doesn't do anything to fix it.
And this dates back to 21.
I think it went on prior to that as well,
It
but
did.
that's where the official,
Right, so it was bad for a year, 2 years before that, where people complained.
That's what I said, it's been plenty of time. So I said we move forward to
And even if we set, cleanup date at 6 weeks, at this point, we'd have to contact somebody to do the cleaning.
But we'd have to procure that service, and figure out we can contract with to do it, and when they'd be able to do it. We can direct solid waste to look into that. And line some people up to get an estimate and a quote, and then send a letter based on that response.
So I think my approach would be to have solid waste contact companies that could do the cleaning, and report back to us in 2 weeks, at which point we would set a date for when that cleaning will occur. And then he would have notification. So, I mean, he's gonna have time to get this cleaned up before the official.
Cleanup date.
Yes.
All right, do I just,
Okay, so I'm trying to write down what you're saying here. So have solid waste, see who can do the work.
yeah. Or like, if you have any trouble, let us know.
And so ideally, we would send him a letter saying we're gonna come do it on the 1st of November, or October, whatever month it is, and he cleans it all up. So then do we still have do we have to pay some I don't know how we contract with a company if they go up and there's no work to do, because they'll have to secure
Yes, I
dumpsters.
think we have to make that known up front that, things may,
Check.
certain moving parts.
We could draft a letter of some sort to that. I can send it to you guys to take a look at it and review. Alternatively, you could also, he paid the original fine. If you wanted to, you could issue an additional fine, which would go, I believe that's sitting in our code enforcement, or is that in general?
Just in general.
General. Which could cover the cost of any, like, the minimus charge a contractor would have to move it.
If I'm a contractor and I'm not sure I'm gonna actually get the work, I might not be too excited about going on site. Oh, we showed up, there's nothing to do, and we don't get paid.
You might be able to,
I don't know, I just think there's more to it than what we're thinking. I think we would run into problems when we get on site, because like the one we're talking about at the other location, at least to me, it was pretty obvious that the home was full of junk and the whole thing just had to go. It was wet, it was stuff of no value, paper, housing, stuff.
holes in the roof.
Junk, right? I mean, zero value, where up here you could at least argue, you threw a ton of steel away, I could have gotten $200 for it. So does the
I don't
contract,
think anybody's, we could have Johnson Salvage, for example, pick up all the steel and the recycling cost, or whatever they get for recycling it, would go towards his fine or whatnot, it's his property. But I think if we don't do something, we basically brought him in here at our last meeting, or that meeting, told him he's got 6 weeks to clean it up, or we're gonna do it. And if we don't follow through with that, we might as well just clear up the ordinance and move on, because it has no teeth.
no, in principle, I'm with you 100%, I wanna do it, I'm just trying to think it through before we say, we make a motion, and then there's other issues that come up. Okay, so ask solid waste to see who could do it. What would we ask Mr. Schneider to tell Mr. Sykes? That at our next meeting, we're going to be talking about cleanup.
We'll set the cleanup date at our next meeting, because at that point, we should have bids from contractors and possible open dates for when they can do the work. And, all this gives him a window to get it done.
And he was given notice at today's meeting, other than, he was in person. Did we,
We told them about it in person. We sent it by certified and regular mail. I'd have to check. Yeah, the certified was signed for. He received it on July 19th, thereabouts.
so the action of the board today would be take the next steps of cleaning up the situation, the county taking the lead in cleaning up the situation at the expense of Mr. Sykes. Those actions would be to have a solid waste, look into doing the work, finding someone to do the work, and us deciding a date, or what are we gonna decide, picking a
And
contractor?
solid waste would, talk to contractors, would get bids, likely go with the lowest bid and see what their window is as far as when they can get it done. I mean, they might tell us they don't have any open dates for 6 weeks.
That gives him time to,
And I would make sure that, the contractors know that the situation could be remedied, and if there's a clause that they get paid a cancellation fee, then that fee would be assessed as a fine.
And solid waste-
How I would do it.
And would we have solid waste determine if they're within compliance? I guess that's who normally would make that determination. For example, if they go up in 2 weeks and he's got a fire under him and he's cleared it up. Because that's the other thing too, if he removes 40% of the items, is that compliance, or is it 80%, or is it 100%? And if we have a contractor go up, do they clear everything that's outside of the building, or do they clear it up to where they think it's in compliance? I just don't know how all those.
well, that would be a Carter call as far as that I would say get in there and clean it up 100%. I mean, it needs to be cleaned up. My question is, things that he wants to save or wants to keep, I'm assuming that he's gonna wanna put it in the building. Is he gonna have
Indoors, then yes.
room? I mean, now the roof is missing,
When you drove by, was the roof repaired, or you didn't see that?
it's not.
It wasn't.
I just slowed down, I was on 231, I just slowed down.
Oh,
I
okay,
kept
looked
looking
over.
there.
So I think the part of the roof that was off would have been not visible to you.
Right.
Mr. Schneider, from a procedural standpoint, is what Mr. Houseletter's saying work?
Yeah, I think it's a good next step for us. I can address a letter to Mr. Seitz indicating that the county is, the trash court is seeking quotes or bids to clean up and bring his property in compliance, which will, those fees and costs will be assessed to him or against his property, and that we will readdress the quote awarding as well as the status of the property again on October the 2nd. I wrote down 9 o'clock, but I don't know what our agenda looks like yet. Or if we have a opening or a different time. 9 a.m.
And I don't want to appear that I don't want to follow through. I definitely do want to follow through. I just want to proceed.
And I can reach
We
out
don't
to
get
them all,
involved, so we don't
I
get
understand.
anything.
I can reach out to Randy, if Carla's not in this week, and discuss it with him. Okay?
Okay, so I guess we should formalize this. So our action today will be to have Mr. Schneider send a letter to Sites, giving him the following information, that we will reconvene the trash court on October 2nd at 9 o'clock. Does that work? And to determine next actions, or possibly reviewing bids to have the third party bring the property into compliance. Does that sound accurate? So that'll be, I guess, just for the record, is that our motion? That's my motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. So, Mr. Schneider, are you gonna reach out to all these people, or do you need me to reach out to Solid Waste, or?
I can reach out to Solid Waste and write the letter.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Next up, we have Sheriff Kleinhelter.
Morning. Good morning. I just have a couple of quick items this morning. First one we'll talk about is the school resource officer grant. I asked Mr. Schneider a little while back to give a letter to both school districts where we have SROs, Northeast and Southeast. Kind of talk about the contract that we have, clean up some language in it. And so
I've drafted a letter, going to, depending on the discussions today. My view of the resource agreement, it's between the county through its sheriff's department as well as the board of commissioners with the school corporations. I think that there are some terms that need to be modified based upon what the sheriff has indicated to me. Just sending a notice letter to them. There's terms in the agreement that allow us to modify it. Otherwise, it's a 12-month and it automatically renews every year without notice of termination or modifying it. So prior to getting to that 30-day termination notice, we'd like to take a run at modifying some of its terms that hopefully would benefit both sides and not take advantage of either side. So with your blessing, I'd send that out today.
Should we discuss each of the points that you want modified?
I would,
You know, is it both schools or just the one?
It's gonna be both. A lot of it kind of stems, or some of it stems from what we did at the last meeting, just to make sure that they're okay with that. It is an employee of the county, no matter what. There's some things that we want to talk about. A couple of them is they are according to the contract, duties and responsibilities, they are to teach a criminal justice class. And I know there's some confusion on exactly what that means from the SRO. I have one SRO that does not want to teach a class. He kind of believes more in the security aspect of it, is not necessarily going into school and having every kid know exactly where you're at 8 o'clock in the morning. And the other one doesn't mind it. So just kind of maybe removing that and having discussions. I'm not sure that we're going to change a whole lot, but I think there needs to be discussions between myself and what we expect our school resource officer to do and what the principal or the superintendent expect that school resource officer to do. So
I do remember I brought up something to you previously. There was some other language too, where I said he wanted him to account for every minute of his day. I think there was something
Yes.
like that in there as well. And I don't think we had been doing that. Yeah, we might as well make it so that we're doing what's in there.
right.
So what is your?
I'm viewing the purpose of the letter simply to put them on notice that we want to modify some of these terms. We're going to be reaching out to you to have a sit down on this. You're aware of it. And then flesh that out in those face-to-face or phones or however you intended on meeting with them.
Yeah, we already have a scheduled meeting with Southeast next week. So, I mean, this is just going to be the formality that.
We don't know what
Let's
terms
discuss.
that we're changing. We don't know the finished product yet, so you'll bring the finished product up before it gets signed.
That's correct.
I have no problem with moving forward with discussions and modifications. Anybody on the board have a comment? Is that all on that?
That's all
Or
on
just
that.
that you're kind of reworking the contract?
The second one, I want to get clarification. I went through the budget process with the council last month, and there was some discussion on the 2 positions that were created, 2 new deputy positions. I guess I want to get clarification, was that the 2 positions, were they granted by you guys if the grant gets approved, or were they approved either way?
I believe they were approved either way, but the reason we were considering them was
Okay.
we wanted to get the COPS grant. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we wanted that, but I think that we'd have to review the minutes, but my remembering of it is that it was a part of the discussion, the COPS grant, but I think the way that we ended up approving it was we're gonna have them either way.
Okay.
Was my remembrance of what we talked about.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong.
Because originally, I think we said, well, let's just do it based on you getting that grant. Then we decided, well, we're gonna approve it eventually anyway.
I would agree, but I also agree with probably review the minutes just to be sure.
So our memory of it, or I guess our desire today would be, we're gonna hire them either way. But our desire today doesn't matter, it matters how we voted. So I would review the minutes, and if it says, unless it says something contrary, I believe they're approved either way.
And then, I guess with that, also, obviously, I'd ask for more than those 2. So is there any more discussion on like how that's gonna play out in the future? The remaining officers that I requested?
I don't have any desire to add any new officers today.
I'm not saying today, I'm just saying, like, what's the next steps? What's the, the need's not going away, and is there any progress on how we're gonna get these personnel?
There's no progress for me.
Okay.
About it. Guess I haven't thought of it. I guess it would be like any time for me. You could come back and tell your story, and we can to reconsider it.
I don't necessarily know that my story would change, but I can come back and tell it.
I guess for me, I'm not interested in adding any new positions at this point. If you want to come back and keep a bug in our ear in January or whatever, again, I'd be happy to always hear from you, but my message today would be, I'm not open to adding any new positions.
No, I'm good with it too.
Okay. All right.
So that sounds like that's where we're at.
Okay. And then the other thing, did you want to talk about the kitchen equipment in the?
We approved that earlier, so thank you for taking, Sheriff had to make several calls and emails on those things, so thank you for that. So we did approve that, so I don't have to call and tell you, but I think I kind of told Sheriff, go ahead with it anyway. I didn't see that there was any way that.
Now he is not wanting all of it, is the remaining items.
Oh, I thought it was all of it. There's 7 items.
There's 7 items. The only one that he's not taking is the long table where the dishwasher is at.
I would say ask see if we can get it scrapped.
Just get it scrapped.
You can, I think that money would be very limited. You can just deposit with a check.
How long is it?
30 feet.
Oh, wow.
But it's broken up in sections. So you have the one section.
I assume it's all stainless steel.
It's all stainless steel. One's got the bowl where the dishwasher, or the garbage disposal's at, and then the dishwasher sits in the middle. And then the other section has one sink, and then the other section has one sink. I shouldn't even say section, it's all one section, but it's just all kind of broken up. So,
Yeah, with that being, I would assume just scrap it.
Kansas said
If it was something that was, relatively easy to move out, there might be some value there, but
Yeah.
this guy that bought your other stuff would probably see that.
right. Okay, all right.
So here's the, Mr. Schneer found the meeting minutes. So you have staff request, here, I'll just read it as, okay. Sheriff Town Kleinhelter requested a staff increase of 3 deputy positions be created for the 2024 budget. If awarded, the cops hiring grant would partially fund 2 deputies. Following discussion, a motion was made to approve the 2 positions partially funded using the cops hiring program grant for 2024. The 3rd position was denied. The motion was duly seconded and carried unanimously. So again, I think that goes with the way I look at it is we're approving them. We want them partially funded, but I don't think it excludes us not
It
funding
didn't say
them.
pending funding.
That being said, the council may have had different qualifications on the funding, but not from our side. So I just didn't want you to, I don't know what they said. If they may have said, we're only giving you X amount on your budget.
I have not got word from them.
Okay, so as far as we're concerned, the positions are created with nothing hanging on them.
Okay, all right.
Does that
Yep,
clarify that?
It does,
Okay.
yes.
And then the other thing with the sheriff while he's here, let's go ahead and declare these items surplus. We had, the sheriff provided a large list of items. These were items that were in the Sally board, and it was presented to the county for their offices to use items. Some items were taken, some were not. I just want to declare these items on this list surplus for the sheriff to dispose of. Good with it? Sure. Would you say you're good with it, or you want to look at it?
No, I'm good with that.
Okay.
I was looking at it when you were holding it up.
Okay. And, you guys know how I am. I'm pretty stingy with wanting to keep stuff. This was a bunch of stuff that probably needed to be recycled or
Pretty old.
disposed of.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Okay, all in favor of declaring those items surplus, say, I guess I'll move that we declare them surplus.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right,
Thanks,
thanks,
Sheriff.
guys.
Okay,
Do we have to go to recess for them to have the public hearing?
I wouldn't think so.
What's that?
For the
Do we have
public
to
hearing.
Recess to go into the public
You
hearing?
can just call the public hearing, it's fine.
I just wanna make sure.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and do that. It's 9:28. The public hearing was scheduled for 9:30. So we're gonna give the public hearing a couple extra minutes. We're gonna open that and.
Thank you for your generosity.
So we have 2 public hearings scheduled. Region 15 Representative Jennifer is here for 9:30 to talk about TRICAP childcare and 9:35 on occupied rehabilitation. Go ahead.
I'm going to start a sign-in sheet around. This is required for part of our submission as part of the hearing. So Jenny Mott, I sit in the 15 Regional Planning Commission. You as commissioners have participated in a very lengthy process for the Hoosiers Enduring Legacy Program, and have now come up with 2 projects to spend your $1 million grant. There will be 2 public hearings this morning that are required, and 2 this evening with the council to go forward with the owner-occupied rehabilitation and TRICAP Head Start. Of the $1 million, TRICAP will be receiving $300,000. And Joyce and Molly are here today to discuss some of the things that Head Start would like to, or would benefit from. So I will let them speak once.
Okay.
She's trying to write your name here real quickly.
Good morning, thank you for being here.
Good morning, thank you for having us. So one of the big things that we are requesting with
Would
these.
you introduce yourself for the record?
I'm sorry, I'm Molly Wilkner,
Thank you.
TRICAP Head Start Director. We are in need of finishing a sensory room in one of our classrooms at the Jasper site. We've seen a big increase in the amount of challenging behaviors since COVID. And so a sensory room would just give an additional space for some of our kiddos who might need to be removed from the classroom to have a calm down period. It's not an isolation room, it's not a padded room whatsoever. It would just provide a calming space with different manipulatives for that child and teacher to go so the child can calm down and be reintroduced back into the classroom. So that would take up quite a bit of that $300,000 because furnishing a classroom is very expensive, especially with these kind of specialized materials. So that's one item. And then we're also asking for just overall budget grant support for supplies, whether it be classroom supplies, office supplies, program supplies, also to include parent incentives for the parents to attend parent meetings in which they receive parent training, which then helps the workforce and hopefully gets them, I'm not saying that they're not in the workforce, but this just adds more to their knowledge base and potentially could help them out in the workforce. And then also incentives for the parents to get their children to school. Because once we have the children at school, as we know, it's very beneficial. So, and then possibly even to help provide with some transportation support as well. We do not provide transportation to our program, so a lot of the parents have to bring their children to us and pick them up. Some of our parents have expressed that that's a hardship, so we would be looking at helping them with transportation needs to get their children to and from Head Start services.
So I believe you had to, or we had to, put together a letter, a preliminary letter for the granting agency to say, these are the items we would want to do, right? So were these items all within that letter for them, and were they approved?
They have all been submitted to Okra. Okra does have a few follow-up questions, and between now and the submittal of the application, Molly and I will work through on those items that they have some questions on that needs follow-up information. And they were receptive to everything that TRICAP has proposed.
So I think originally, one of the discussions we all had was it'd be great to have another classroom, to have more support, to have more things, but when you have one-shot opportunities with money, that doesn't do.
That $300,000 would be gone in 4 months maybe.
To open another classroom, that's great. But you can't very well bring a group of children in and serve 20 more children and then say, it's only for a year though, and then go find somewhere else to go next time. So that's one of the things that's disappointing about certain kind of grant funding, that it's not ongoing. So if there's a need for more kids in the classroom, this doesn't solve that need.
I'm Joyce Black, but I would say to add to that, it solves needs for multiple years beyond. This sensory room is a big, big deal. It's gonna help kids for like generations and generations, because if you've ever seen other schools that have them, this stuff is very expensive. And when she's talking about the behaviors in the classrooms, a lot of times we're the only place where that will take certain kids and families.
At this age.
At this age. And there are a lot of struggles there, and we're helping so much I'm pretty passionate about that sensory room, but it will help more than just this 1 year.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just these few kids, now it will help kids for a long, long time.
So it's a good way to have a long-term impact that you can't spend money on one time.
Right.
Right, no, I appreciate that feedback.
And we've had discussions, adding staff would be fantastic, or giving raises is fantastic, and we would love to do that, but once grant funds are gone, if there's not a sustainable way to support those raises, then having folks stick around once you cut their pay is a little hard to do, and I don't think anybody would want to do that, so providing these durable materials is a great way for Head Start to utilize their funding.
And just for the public knowledge, it's for 3 to 5-year-olds, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And so that would mean is a child there for 3 seasons or 3
Typically
sessions?
2 years,
Typically 2
because once they turn 5, if they turn 5 by August 1st, they have to go to kindergarten.
Sure.
So we
Okay,
can't
so
start
they
them.
get
So
2.
typically 2, sometimes 3 years, just depending when they enter the program.
So I'm satisfied with everything that they've had to say so far. Commissioner Hofstadter? I would agree. Commissioner Steptoe?
Agreed.
Okay, is there any public comment on the TRICAP childcare portion of the Oprah grant, for the public hearing? Seeing none, we'll close that public comment. Is there anything else, Mr. Schneider? That is a requirement for this that you're aware of?
Not for, just a motion to close the public hearing. I know you said you were just closing it.
Do we need to do that for each of these?
I believe they're 2 separate public hearings, so you were.
Is there anything else, Ms. Mott? No. Okay, so anything else for TRICAP on this?
No, thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
that,
you.
and we hope that this helps help what you're doing out there.
I think this is awesome.
I'll
As a
move
farmer
Yes.
worker there, I think this is awesome for them.
Thank you.
I did not know that until I met with them,
Yes.
that's fantastic.
I use work toys.
That's what I found out.
We're very excited.
I'll move that we close the public hearing for the TRICAP child care portion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Let's open the public hearing for the owner-occupied rehabilitation portion of the Oprah grant.
Jenny Mott is back again. So the larger portion of your HELP grant will be $700,000 going towards the owner-occupied rehabilitation. This is a fantastic opportunity for houses throughout the county. I know that there are a lot of homes that are in need of rehabilitation, and this program will be really beneficial for low to moderate income persons. Now, the big question that a lot of people have is what kind of population will this serve? For a single person household, the income limit is $49,150 a year. For a 4-person household, which is what a lot of things look at, it's $70,150. We will look at interest earned from accounts, or if you have
So I want to just make sure it's clear, is it 100% of the AMI or is it 80%?
80.
80.
For 80, yep. So $70,150 for a family of 4. If there are assets like 401ks or anything like that, we can take a look at those as well, especially for retired folks. If those that are wishing to apply are self-employed, we'll look at their 2 most recent tax returns on their net income. And this does have to be owner occupied. This is not rental properties, because I know there are a lot of those in the county that are in need. But they will have to be the owner occupying the space. And this work will cover 5 things that we can do to the home. We can do roof repair or replacement. We can do ADA accessibility up to the threshold of the home, so ramps, handrails, anything like that. Heating and cooling, so your HVAC replacements or repairs, lighting and electrical upgrades. The home needs complete new wiring that can be taken care of, and water heater replacement. With the roof repair and replacement, it does not cover gutters, fascia downspouts, anything like that, because that does tend to get into the areas of lead-based paint. So they do not do any lead-based paint remediation. But I think a concern initially was being able to spend these funds by 2025. However, by the end of 2025. However, with costs rising as we have seen over the last several years, roof repairs HVAC, these things are not cheap, and getting this out to the entire county will be a very quick and easy way to spend this money, so.
I think this is great. I do something like this at Spring Valley. We have some community reinvestment activities that we have to do. That means you're helping the people in the communities that you serve. And one of the ways we do this is that has to do with home repair. And it's amazing the roof conditions and that some folks are living in. I have a guy in another county who has like a log home and his spouse passed away. He didn't have water, he didn't have toilet, he didn't have all this stuff. He just quit doing a lot of it. And he makes $17,000 a year, so you can't afford to do $10,000 worth of repair. So and it is pretty, you can get a lot of work done for $10,000 still, but it's, the hardest part for my people is getting contractors out to do a small job.
Yes.
But what is our limit going to be?
We have not established a limit yet. I think that's something that warrants further discussion. You had mentioned 10,000. In other owner-occupied rehabilitation programs through Okra, they do have a cap. However, this does not. So if you want, if a home needs a roof and some a water heater replacement, that might exceed that 10,000. But we had a discussion prior that at what point do you kind of say, ooh, if it needs all 5 of these upgrades, is this really that we need to worth putting in that much money into? So I don't know if you would like to have a discussion about that at another time, if there's a limit.
I think 15,000, would take care of most problems of the people that I've worked with. And it's maybe only been a dozen people I've worked with this year on it, but $15,000 will take care of a lot of their problems.
Another thing that we had mentioned when we met with Williams at TriCap, this will be a great way to kind of fix some things, and then TriCap can sometimes come in. If the weatherization program needs to be utilized, they may not want to go in and do weatherization if there is a massive roof leak. So these programs can partner together well.
And for the board's sake, if a person in the community, the plan is that they would make an application with Region 15.
Yes, sir.
And Region 15 takes care of everything that has to do with it for the most part. And there's a lot of nice things about that, but they were excited about it because this is a program I think Lisa may have liked anyway, and this is a way to get it started. And then the good thing about this, once this $700,000 is gone, there may be an opportunity from the state to continue the program through other funds.
Yes.
So that's the thing I liked about it.
Yes. Okra has made the owner-occupied rehabilitation a permanent part of their funding process, and they for the foreseeable future. So once this funding is spent, there have been pilot programs. Huntingburg was a participant in the pilot program through the housing director at SIDC out of Lagodi. We did not have anyone in our office that was qualified to do housing, but going forward, I will be taking care of housing. So we're excited to get this program moving and have communities in Du Bois County participate if they so desire in the future, because this will be a sustainable program.
The other thing I like about this is sometimes people can be judgmental. Why don't they fix up their house? Why does that house look in that condition? What's the problem?
It's very expensive.
And if you're making, I know another person in the community that they make under $1,000 a month in Social Security. That's their only income. You can't buy a $10,000 roof on $1,000 a month.
When you have other bills.
Unless you're not going to eat or have no housing expense. So it's, some people are just in a position where they need some help. I think this is a good opportunity. I don't have any other comments or questions on this project.
It's a great program. Happy to see it being implemented.
Our next step would be, I will be back at your next meeting to do a resolution to submit the application. We can't take care of that today because it does have language in there about having 2 public hearings, the second of which will occur this evening, and I don't want to put that out there if we have not done that. But we will also need to advertise for a contractor that will serve as the inspector for the project. They will be the main point of contact for the homeowner as well as the contractors that will be doing the work. So we would need to put that solicitation on the paper soon to get that project or process going.
I think we've had a lot of busy contractors over the last several years. I think that may slow in the coming year or two. So this may be something where we have a lot of participation. Mr. Stefano, did you have any comments or?
So the application will be, I'm kind of new to this.
That's fine.
So
So am I, but we're getting there.
people will be sending in applications for, hopefully for their improvements.
Yes, we will meet with the homeowners individually
Okay.
to get all the information that they need, all the financial paperwork. And then at that time as well, the inspector will come out, look at their property and let us know what projects need to be done at their
And
home.
then you also advertise so these homeowners know,
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
So they're aware of
Yes.
this, okay.
I think something that I brought to or they may have brought it up, somebody we had a discussion about was this would be a good situation too, where we can go by and see that home that has a big hole in the roof or has a tarp, it's had a tarp for years, and it gets a new tarp every so often, that we could also reach out and do some community outreach might be a good part of this to help people that may not read the paper, because there's always people that don't read the paper, don't listen to the radio, don't have Facebook.
yes,
We can reach them where they are.
yes, and if you have
I
anybody,
think TriCap's gonna be a great.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes, we're looking forward to partnering with them. But if there's anybody, word of mouth is fantastic, and we're really going to hit not only your meetings, but meetings in different towns, just to get the word out so that, we can get this money out there and impact as many homes as we can.
When people, the word of mouth thing will take this off, that money will be desirable.
Yes,
Where else are you gonna find, all I have to do is be poor and I have to have a need.
have me, yep,
And I
and
fill out a
willing
little bit of
to
paperwork and I
do
can
my
always work.
paperwork, yeah, and work with me. And I will be spending a lot of time in the community. This is something that I'm really excited to be a part of. I don't live in the Du Bois County community, but my kids do come to school here, and this is their classmates, this is their the families that I know from school things and from being in the community. And I'm really looking forward to not only this program, but making this a sustainable part of the county.
All right, I think we have maybe some public comment.
Yes, hi again for this public meeting. Joyce Fleck interviewed me again, but I just had a question on the limit per household. Be very, very thoughtful about that, because if we set that today at either meeting, I don't know if there's more time or not, but if you have a family that needs to be over that limit, is there an appeal process? Is there a way, is there a path forward? Rather than saying, I'm sorry, it's 15,000, you need 16, and I can't come up with it, or whatever the situation may be, is there I don't know how hard fast that limit is what I'm saying.
My thought on the fly would be there has to be a hard stop at some point. Otherwise, there's some homes that would be $50,000 and I hate to say that. I would think we would, as you get into the program, I think there may be some supplemental sources. For example, community groups or something that could maybe, if it's slightly over, could probably help with those areas. But that would be my, just on the fly opinion, that you have to have a limit at some point. Maybe it's 17,000, maybe it's 5,000, maybe it's 20, I don't know. But just for my, like I said, limited experience working with these kind of things, $15,000 would do a lot of repairs. The other thing that we did with the program that we work on is that you can't get another one within the next 5 years or within the next so many years, because you don't want the same home
Coming back in.
just because it doesn't get spread out in the community. So why could spend $30,000 on the Smiths when the Joneses need it? Two, you don't want somebody getting overly enriched and then maybe selling their house or. So I guess there are a few things to be worked out.
And a little counseling with the homeowners, because that'll impact their property taxes on the road, I would think, wouldn't it, the value of the house and that kind of thing. So, yeah. And some homes will be a lot less than that. I'm not saying everything will be near your limit, but a wheelchair ramp is nowhere near, a roof.
Keep rewire home right now.
Okay, I just want to know how that process.
No, I appreciate that, but I guess it's something to be worked out.
We can discuss that and you all can discuss between now and the next meeting. So,
That sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
any
Is
more
there any
questions?
public comment on the owner occupied rehabilitation portion?
I do, before you close, I do have paperwork that goes for the application that Mr. Schneider has reviewed, and after the meeting, we will sign it, that's okay.
That will close, I'll move that we close the public hearing portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
And did you say you want us to do that now?
You can do it at the end, it's fine. I like hanging out with you.
You wanna, all right,
Sure.
okay.
I'm good.
And when
Yeah.
we come back, we'll be doing the 2024 benefit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
More I think about this, like, you know, we talked about people that use the application as a parent. He said, people like to be don't have any option. You guys could go out, tour, take a look.
And we got more down, yes, we've got some things already on our radar.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Because I use her business right there. And I know that
We've talked to them, and then we've also got some time to meet with the different councils. And just to work out there. I think the hard part of it is going to be the families kind of incorporated areas. Because I think a lot of people hear this and think, oh, well, I'm not in Jasper, I'm not in there. It's pretty big training. It's still here, so it's getting these applications.
Well,
Yes, the inspector would go in there and in case like that. So we don't even figure out. There are people that do not because they can't, because they do. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, since you also. Okay, this is the disclosure report.
Oh, we
can. I forgot to ask. Money, yes, we have. Same thing on this one, except it That'd be fantastic. This seems so that I can take minutes to read it.
Oh, he's here, right there. He's right there.
This is a language for business proficiency. You do this county only has 3 quick books.
I know, but I'm gonna be
Level, and so the county does not.
Now, what rate, what rate, so
If you're above 5%. City of Edinburgh does. You might get security. And I will send you copies of these. Did you get any,
If I did, Stacy would have.
call them or ask them.
Oh, you guys keep going.
You can't do everything. Just can't.
Just can't. Did we get a couple of shares thing from the Herald on Oak Brook public hearings for Region 15?
So just enough. While they're doing that, we did have a website training review thing on the 14th.
Keep an eye out for what people want to do. Thanks.
What's the day that we have?
In the middle. Oh, they,
Keep an eye out.
just sent us from February, they never sent the hours.
I'll try to keep a note too, but I told her, so.
That's wonderful. I will send you copies of this, like, back to Dallas. And then I'll see you.
We need to go.
All right, let's move, get the meeting back to order, please. We're gonna talk about 2024 benefits with, Road.
All right, yeah, I got Marky Rhodes here, HR department. I got Max and Dean from Houchin Insurance Group. So we got really 4 things on the agenda today. We're gonna talk about medical stop loss and reinsurance, all that good stuff. Then we're gonna bring back up RX Protect, and then dental plan and the vision plan. You'll see in detail here, but we are proposing to go from a 3-tier to a 4-tier rate structure. And we'll actually be implementing that in the medical plan as well. We're not ready to discuss medical rates or plan design yet. That'll come in 2 weeks, but this is the 4 things we got on the agenda here. We want to go ahead and lock down today. So I'll turn it over to these guys.
Morning.
Morning.
Skip, you must, did you guys want the hour version or the 15-minute version?
Let's start with the short one.
Yeah, okay.
If we need more, we'll ask.
We'll give you 30 minutes.
Especially Monday morning. Again, my name's Dan Davis. I'm with Houchin Insurance Group, and what I wanted to go over this morning is the medical part. Just kind of tell you what's going on and the results we've gotten as far as on the renewal. The renewal we got. You want to go past now? Yeah. If you look at the second page, kind of start there. This is the numbers that, first of all, we went out to tell you. No, okay. Just to tell you what we do on the market side. This is the sheets that, if you remember, every year we send out a request for formal proposal from the stop loss market based on the results of your group. Where you're running at so far this year. We went out to, this year we went out to 25, we requested quotes from 25 markets, 7 quoted and 18 declined. The 18 declined doesn't mean that your group is not an insurable group. Now, there were a couple that declined just based on, claim history. A lot of them just decline. A lot of times in the marketplace, if they're manual rates, if we provide them the current rates that you're paying or where you're at right now, some will decline just to the fact that their manuals are higher. They just can't get there. So it doesn't mean and that's very common. It doesn't mean that your group is a bad group. And so be very careful when you use the word decline. It doesn't always mean, they didn't want to look at your group. They just weren't competitive. If you look at that second page, you're going to see right now and if you look at on the right-hand side, right above the bar graph, you're going to see in red that right now your group's running about 88%. And that's through 10 months of claims. The underwriter, when they price your group or when they set a claim attachment, they typically want you to be at expected is usually 80% of worst case. 80% or below usually drives a pretty good attachment point. What you're going to see this year, because it's running like 88, you're going to get trend, a little bit of trend. So if the same claims happen this year, happen next year, you'd see medical trend on those. So we'll go over that in a second. One thing to point out, if you look at the gross claims, where it says gross claims column, you're at 3,000,003 in 10 months. The column right next to it is the amount over specific. In other words, the amount of people over the 80,000. What's happening in your group this year is you've got 8 members that are accounting for 40% of your claims. So that, and I will tell you, it's pretty typical. So it's not everybody driving the claims. You've got the 8, and you've got some of them are gonna repeat next year, in all honesty. Okay, we had 2 lasers last year. Does everybody, when we talked last year, does everybody know what a laser means? You remember? Okay. What happens is, several years ago, laser was like a bad word in the marketplace. As a client, you didn't want a laser. And so what stop loss carriers would do would just build up the premium to cover anybody they think will do greater than 80,000. Your spec deductible is 80,000. Anything over 80,000, you bought reinsurance for. So if you have a member that does 100,000, there's 20,000 that's coming back to you guys. It's going to be paid. So you're buying catastrophic coverage and you're buying group coverage. Okay. So what has happened in the marketplace, and this has gone on 5, 6, 7 years now, it's become more acceptable to take a laser rather than let the premium be inflated, because you don't always know if that's going to happen. I can give you a situation where somebody, you take higher premium instead of a laser, and 3 or 4 months into the plan year, I had situations where maybe a member would pass away. But what's happened is you're paying that premium, all that inflated premium for that year when you're not going to see the claims. So lasers are more acceptable because you're only going to pay it out if it happens. So we do have some lasers that we'll go over real quick based on this utilization I'm talking about. When you've got 4 members doing 40% of the claims. Okay.
Does that make sense or not? If it doesn't,
yeah, we can go over it. Example, you might have a member 1, and we'll go over that, where they're expecting, you had 1 member that probably was like over $600,000 in claims. Well, that member is going to have a laser $300,000 this year rather than build it in. So anything over that 300, if they were to do it again, it's going to get reimbursed. You're only on for the first 300. You're already on 80, so it's really kind of the difference is what you're over. It's because 80s was what you would have taken anyway as a risk. Does that make sense? Okay. In municipalities, your industry, when you're running 88%, is probably not really bad for municipalities. You tend to have a little higher claims if you look at the industry as a whole. But the big thing is that 40% of your claims is being driven, and that ends up being like $1.3 million in claims that those 4 members are doing. Okay, and it looks like you have 1 that could possibly come off in December of the 4. The other 3 look like they could carry into next year. And Max will go over 1 of them, happens to be pharmacy, and there's some things we can do with that we'll touch on. Okay. If you look at the first page.
So you said we had 2 lasers for 23.
You had 2 lasers currently.
And we're going to add one to where?
We have 4 this next year. One of them's probably going to be off 12/31, so you really will have 3. And talking to Marky, that's pretty sure he's coming on to call now. If you look at the first sheet, all we do there is just for the summary, we've broken it out. The first column is where you're at currently. That's the current column, and it's based on 213 employees. Okay. All I've done there is highlighted what your contract is. If you see the first section there is going to be the specific stop loss. You're on an $80,000 deductible per member. We're not changing that. It's the same as what we're proposing or recommending. You have a 24/12 contract. All that really means is claims that have incurred but not yet been paid. Anytime you get near the renewal, you're always going to have what's called claim lag that goes into the next year. The 24 months means that this will cover anything back 12 months paid in the next 12 months. So that's where the 24 is. It's kind of like the 2-year period. So there's no gap in care. Like if you had an auto accident 3 days before the renewal, it's going to be covered in the next year. Okay. So that's the thing you never want to take risk on. That's always the unknown that can happen at any time prior to renewal. The next section is if you see there, and then what we've got is the premium. Now your premium's going to adjust because your head count probably doesn't move a lot, okay, because you don't have a lot of turnover. But what I do is take a snapshot of that 213 people, that if you ran 213 employees 12 consecutive years, that's what you would expect the premium to be for the specific deductible, 80,000. Okay. The next section is the aggregate liability. What that is it's a group liability coverage. If you remember, everything over 80,000 is going to be picked up in the specific. Everything under 80,000 is going to be looked at as far as a group liability. Typically, you're running at 88%. So what that means is the group as a whole, when we carve out anything over 80,000, you're running about 88% group liability. Okay, so that's kind of getting into the trend area. The premiums are usually not that much at 16,000 because the liability, the odds of you going at it over 100% aren't as great because most of your bigger claims are going to fall at that specific deductible. When I said 40% of the people, I mean, you had 8 members, you have 8 members that contributed. Of the 8 members, we had, some of them were under the 80, but I put them in that number because they're your large claims. But it looks like you had 5 of the 8 went over the 80,000. Okay. The next section, if you look down there, section 3 is just the administrative costs. That's the process claims, provide your network, utilization management. You've got Teladoc is in there. So that's just to break out your fixed costs. And that's running $141,000. So in the yellow, the total fixed cost, and what that is if you had 0 claims, you're going to spend $841,000 a year before you pay any claims. That's what you have based on 213 people. If you go down to the section 5, that's your claim liability. And if you look there, it says $3,465,000. That's what your claim liability was for this year. And then if you see down there where it says total maximum cost, that's going to be the $4,306,000. So that everything went, if you're over the ag, anything over that is what you start seeing reimbursements come back from the carrier as far as anything large. Now you'll see right there where I said lasers currently this year, those are the 2 that you have in place as of last November. And when I look at those 2, you had one of them go over the 145. The person, the example of taking the laser of 200,000, that person, you accept laser of 200, and that person that has done 158,000 this year. So that was kind of the best way to go instead of taking an inflated premium. So it did work out to your advantage because it did come in. They are at least right now coming in less. Now, what I did in section 6, all I did there was, you have an organ transplant rider. Do you guys understand what that is as far as, if the example, leukemia? I had a case over in Owensboro, was a government agency. They had a 35-year-old employee got treated for leukemia, was down at Vanderbilt. That ended up passing away from it. But I was working a renewal, and the stop loss carrier came in and wanted a $500,000 laser on that member. Well, because this group had to organ transplant rider like you did, that was like the get out of jail card. Once they knew that that leukemia would be paid at 100%, there was no laser on that person. So that's kind of the safety net for if you have somebody with a catastrophic claim like the transplant or leukemia. You're just buying a smaller. Example here, this group was a lot smaller than you. They traded at 12, or they were like 60, 65 employees. They traded a $13,000 a year premium that avoided up to $500,000 laser. So it was, you're seeing more and more groups do that now because that's something we can't predict, and it's a high dollar claim. So, and then if you go, I'm not gonna go. The next column is the renewal, and then the 2 other columns, if you go to the 3rd column, this is you're on a 2-tier rate structure.
Can you tell me when you're saying second column, are you meaning the second column this way or the second column here?
I'm sorry, looking down where it says unified, if you go right here where it says renewal.
Let's just call them the first.
You'll see it right here, it says current renewal.
Okay, got it.
You see, I guess, yeah, right down here. She probably needs to put it at the top, but if you rather than go through every column, we went to market, the renewal carriers coming in at about 15.3. If you look at the very bottom, coming at about a 15.3% increase. If you go to the far right, you'll see that column I put recommended. It is a different carrier. It's HCC, which they carry their own paper. In other words, they don't take they don't go and look at any other risk to kind of cover behind the scenes. HCC covers all their own risk. This column, this is the same benefit, no changes as far as the spec deductible. If you go down, the worst case increase is 10.7%.
We've had HCC before.
Yeah, they're a good carrier, very strong. I've never had any problem with spec reimbursements, things like that, as far as when they're paying out.
And just to note the specific deductible, we did look at, we're at 80, but we did look at the 90 and 100, and financially it didn't make sense. So we are sticking with the 80.
What do you mean by it didn't make sense? Like the paying of an extra 10,000 didn't have enough savings?
Correct. The probability, what I do is I'll take that 10 and figure out how many spec deductibles would you have to break even, and I think it's like 2 point something. And the concern we have for you guys is you've been running 3 or 4, so it would have been right, kind of taking the, you're better off at 80 because you would have been, you'd say fixed, but you look like you could have potentially pay out more because you have more risk at 10,000. And we can look at that. We look at that year to year just to see. The increase, obviously fixed costs or spec claims, they did go up as far as spec and ag a little bit, and that's pretty much community rated, not community rated, but it's rated by the block of business. You're not held 100% accountable for your losses, even though like your losses were with that one person were pretty big this year. But the 10.7 is firm as far as to the carriers. There's no any additional underwriting on it, so it's not a subject to, everything's been provided to this carrier. Now we do have if you look at the laser section, that's where we do have the 4 lasers because of their ongoing care.
So if one of those people, for whatever reason, isn't on there, what does that do to the?
Well, what you look down there, you see one of the 175s will come off. It looks like 1231 is what Mark, you've got one that's, is the person on COBRA right now?
Yeah.
So that risk isn't a full year, so that just drops off. So you won't be seeing, you might see a little bit of claims into the first of the year, but it'd just be claim lag, so whatever the person's had. The one thing that they have put in here, we recommend, if you look at down in the blue, there is a program, if you remember I mentioned about organ transplant rider that you're doing now that you bought that protects you. There is now one, it's called gene therapy. The more and more clients are looking at it, what's happening is there are expensive procedures under gene therapy now starting to show up. They would cover these 5 drugs at 100%. If you remember where to have it, these drugs will run anywhere from $850 to $3.5 million, and the treatment period is anywhere from 24 to 36 months. Now this list could change a little bit. They are, as other gene therapies become more prevalent in the marketplace, and there would be an adjustment to that list. What clients are doing is for $1.99 per employee per month, and it's in that 10.7, that if one of these drugs were to hit your claim system, it's going to roll out and the plan's going to pay 100% of it. You wouldn't have any expense to it. And that's where we're starting. We're just trying to kind of be more proactive, and Max is also going to talk about the international drugs. Some of the things that we're seeing in the marketplace are a few more safety nets that you can build around your plan and keep you from those catastrophic claims first hitting your plan. It's not required, it's just something that we're putting on, we've included in there that will protect you from these gene therapies if they were to come up.
So that is my right, is like $5,000 a year? So $2 times 213 times 12?
Exactly.
So 5,086. And Mark, did you look at these drugs, or do you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's about like the organ transplant policy. It's just it is that second balance of insurance there that's unfortunately, where the drug costs are at, for $5,000, it's financially makes sense to do it.
And it's not, like I said, it's not saying you're gonna have one this year, it's just the probability, it's something there, it's an option to you. You know, I put it in, if the commissioners decide what, we're fighting them, maybe we'll roll it out, and we can take it out, it's not a problem at all.
What are these, therapies, what kind of, elements are they curing?
Yeah, I'll show you.
What is Amwins? Is that the name of the company?
Yeah, that's the one that does the market. The actual carrier reinsured, they're the ones that go out and secure the risk taker on it. And it's United States Fire, which is an A+ carrier. That's the carrier. Amwins is just the one that we work with on the stop loss. And this is an additional product. We're putting in a lot of, Alchins is putting in a lot of the groups. Again, not a mandate. It's just we're making a recommendation to consider it. This is the, I'm not gonna try it.
Marcy, does our policy have gene therapy excluded currently? Or do we have some, I thought we had some kind of gene therapy excluded. Or we did previously, did we not?
Gene therapy, it's not saying it wouldn't be covered today. What would happen is the first time it's rendered, you'd be protected by the 80. It's going into that renewal. What kind of laser would you have the next year, as far as that drug's concerned? So that's where you'd see it as it becoming a risk at the next renewal, because a lot of times if something like that would develop. Now, if you go back a couple pages, it's going to tell you. It'll outline these 5 drugs or 5 gene therapies and tell you what they're treated for.
I think if we could get unified and see if we have excluded gene therapy, then.
Yeah, well, and that's, we can double check that. I'm not aware of group, I'd have to double check. It's not common to exclude because you don't know when it's gonna happen, so it's not something we 100% picked out unless immediately excluded. One of the ones that you got into were plans to consider, do we exclude or not, especially drugs on the pharmacy side, you might see some consideration, because that's the one that's kind of hitting the radar screen pretty actively now.
These aren't specialty drugs?
No, these are just therapy, gene therapy. Yeah, these would hit your medical plan, they don't hit the pharmacy program. Now, if you go back, you're gonna see the GTS-5 is the plan they're recommending. It's the $1.99 per employee per month. There's the 5 drugs and the projected costs for them.
Well, where were you at?
Page, the GT, if you see the GTS-5, I took some of their pages out because there was a lot of pages to it. Something like that. If you look, it says the bottom left, right-hand corner, say page 14. Down here. That gives you an idea of those drugs and what you're looking at expense-wise if this one of these drugs was to hit your plan. And, like I said, the first year we'll double check that. It's when you go into negotiating the renewals when it could be the battle as far as what you're on the risk for. If you go back to page, kind of overview here. If you look at page 10, that's going to tell you what these drugs do, or what they're treating as far as some of these drugs. Give you an idea of what the cost is for these. And again, yeah, we definitely double check with United or Unified to see if for some reason part of this that you guys have put an exclusion in there.
Yes, and if we had put the excluded in there, then Dan, we could just remove that.
Oh, yeah.
Pull
Yeah,
that
it's not a
all
problem.
99
Right,
out.
exactly,
It'd still be the same one we approved. And
yeah, it's not a problem.
we with Dave today.
Yeah, we can find out today on that. This is a question. I'd be surprised a little bit because I know I'm asking all the clients I deal with, the third party, I'm not seeing anything like that excluded. It's starting to, you could go 3, 4, 5 years and not even have one. This is just like when the organ transplant, I'd have to look with the current TPA to see if you've even had, the organ transplant payout. That rate on the organ transplant typically, I think it increased like 3%. It doesn't change much, because it's just a block rate for everybody. If you had a claim like the organ transplant, you're not experience rated on that, because the carrier can never be able to collect enough premium off one client, if you had one. So that's why you pay whatever the rate is filed. It's not subject to your experience whatsoever. It's just subject to experience of the block.
Is the $1.99 gene therapy included in the 10.7?
Yeah, it's already built in. So I mean, that's something we can find out. If we need to back it up, we back it out. Again, there's a disclosure statement you'll be asked to sign for HCC, but you'll see on the form it says all the third-party reports have been provided to them, and it'll say on there, it says see attached. You're just signed off because it's already, these are firm, it's just for their file. The disclosure's already been done by the TPA or the third-party administrator, which is Unified. So they are firm. The only date that they would change is that's after Wednesday. If they could ask for an additional month of aggregate reports, just to make sure that things went. But the thing about, I don't know if it's been explained to you before, once you approve this, you are what we call locked in. So what would happen is, if anything would happen between now and November 1st, where another member or member develops something, they don't re-underwrite it. It's locked in. This will be locked in as of November, effective November 1. So nothing would change after today if you approve it, even though something could come up. So it's always important when I talk to a client. I'm not saying you have to lock, just saying after Wednesday, we just have to provide more information that might be available. But if something happens that between now and November 1, we don't have to redisclose anything.
So currently, if somebody, I'll just pick the last one on here, Roctavian, it's for hemophilia A. We have a covered member that their doctor says that this is a therapy that was appropriate for them. This year, that will be available to any of our people unless there's an exclusion that we aren't aware of.
Right.
And the cost could be involved. Let's just say we get it cheaper than this. It's just $2 million instead of 9.9. So that would be something that would be covered by our reinsurance
This year, yeah,
This
at
year.
80.
So the county would be out $80,000.
Right.
This carrier would be out $2 million. Or no, or is there a limit?
No, it's unlimited.
It's unlimited. So it's going to cost our carrier $2 million this year.
Right.
And the next year, nobody's going to cover us for it.
Well, because when you go to market, it's a known claim. So
That would be a laser.
Yeah, this is really to avoid. It's not so much. It's really to avoid the laser activity is what it comes down to. Is the first day you're going to be covered. It's just the fact that having this is kind of that. I hate to use the word get out of jail card, but it really is. It's kind of protecting you from, like I mentioned earlier about the leukemia case down at Vanderbilt that was going to be a $500,000 laser because I had the transplant in place like you guys did in that scenario. They waived it because they knew once they found out another carrier was picking up that risk. Because this is like a wrap, just like your transplant. It'll just wrap around your plan to where it'll be carved out and covered by this carrier.
Is this a case where if we say we don't want to do that and we save, on the surface, we save $5,000 a year or whatever that amount is, does that then increase something?
Well, what they would do is if you went the next year, they would underwrite it. Is there any known cases in there where they could exclude, any active cases? Right now, there's nothing in here to my knowledge from when the stop loss look at. This is kind of it's hard to insure something once it's already known in the plan. So right now is when it would be the best time to put it in. Not that we couldn't later. It's just would depend on what's pending in your group as far as your members are concerned.
So there's probably, you're in this business, there's probably 100 of these kind of products that they cover different items and it'll protect.
Well, right now, it's kind of like international drug with Maxiglar. There aren't like 100. There might be, maybe 5 or 6 right now. Now, every year that could change. You could have someone else get into the marketplace. I know that we usually look at 3 or 4 on the transplant rider that we recommend, and usually the ones that are with the strongest carriers just to make sure. Because Optimum is one of them where it's completely different carrier than your HCC that we're recommending for stop loss. Optimum seems to be the strongest player right now in the transplant market. And they are owned by United, so it's a good risk taker for you as far as to be with.
And I think what I'm getting at is you could probably come to us with a bunch of different add-ons that we could have to this.
Oh, yeah,
This
right.
is just one of those add-ons.
Yeah, and this is the one
So at what point do we stop adding?
Yeah, I'm not in the market to get add-ons to you. This is just one because of the concern with specialty drug and where we're seeing it. This is just the one we're starting for the fact that it's only $1.99 and you know, it's just that peace of mind that, you know, you're taking risk, but at what point what things do you want to take risk on?
And Houchins doesn't make any more money if we do
No.
this or we
No,
don't
we're
do it,
net.
so.
Yeah, this isn't anything, $1.99, there wouldn't be that much in difference. Yeah, I'm doing it only because I'm recommending you look at it because at renewal, it makes my job easier to find markets for you. You know, that there isn't a claim that will be sitting there that might, you know, end up with a $500,000 or $1 million laser. Because I did have one client that, in our agency that did have $1 million claim here in the last 2 or 3 years. You know, and it's, you know, it's always good to have options that it's available.
Mr. Steptoe, we have a thought on this portion? We spent enough time on it.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling sometimes.
It is very, very.
Or Commissioner Hostetter, if you wanted to start, or either of you. My first thought is I don't want to do any more add-ons. I think it's covered under our medical plan and we could probably add on for weeks with things, but then on the other hand,
Yeah, then that add-on could be nonstop. Yeah, I agree.
what do you thought? Do you have any thoughts?
But this add-on can save us down the road.
Yeah, 5,000 versus 4.7 million. You know, we're already at 4.7 million, 5,000 the change in your pocket, so to speak. You know, we're already talking about that.
For my ears. The wheels are turning, but I don't know. I can see the benefit of having it on there. And I can see getting to the end of the year and saying, we wouldn't have needed to have that on there.
Yeah.
Or like with organ transplants, you could see paying for it for 70 years and you never needed it.
Yeah, I used to, you know,
Well, we have paid for it for many years.
yeah. I don't know, we could look, you know, it's probably, if you were to ask me, I know sometimes I battle with some of my other guys in my agency 5-6 years ago because they said, well, it's never happening. Well, I'm starting to see it, and that's why I became a believer in the transplant because I'm starting to see those claims, and I had a few.
But all it takes is one.
So it's out there. It's just, you know, I hope you don't have it because, you know, now the only thing you could do is if, you know, and just saying out loud, if you were to consider any employee contribution changes, you know, they're, you know, as far as you haven't changed it for a while, no market, I thought that's where you could make it up, you know, if you're getting additional contributions from the employees at some point towards a medical plan. Because that would help the member too. You gotta remember, if they're gonna pay it at 100%, that means the member's not having any out of pocket on this drug. Or not drug, but the gene therapy. And then the international drug kind of works the same way. There's no out of pocket to the member. So if a member or their family member were to have this gene therapy, it's covered on both sides, for the plan and the member. But again,
While they're thinking, is
yeah.
there any parts north of that on the page here that we have any decision making on?
No, everything else is replacing what you have. Or just a recommendation of this carrier.
And for the market as a whole, is paying 19 or 20% in fixed costs, is that good, bad?
Well, you gotta remember that you're paying 10%. Right now, the market, let's see, I'm trying to figure out what that, I don't have my.
All I did was I just took the fixed cost divided by the total cost, and it's like 19 point some percent, but it's not like we're getting no benefit, it's all administration. There's the teledoc you said, for example.
Right, and then you talk about the spec premium and ag premium in there too. When you said, you took the 912?
Yeah, divided by 4.7 or 4.8.
And it's a small part, but you gotta remember, when you say 19%, you're talking 10 to 15% of your total exposure. So it's, yeah, it went up this much, but it's a small, really, it's a small part of the total.
I got it.
Yeah.
That makes
So you gotta
sense.
be kind of careful too. That sounds like a lot, yeah, but it's not across the total number. Your aggregate's only going up by 11%. Your claim liability, and that's where your dollars are when you say that. If you look down there and it says the aggregate of 3,086,000, that's your claim liability, and that's where a lot of your dollars are. It's gonna be your claims.
Sure.
So that's how you get, when you blend it all out, you're at 10.7%.
And again, that's considered worst case if we have less claims last.
Yeah, like
than
this year, you're at 88%. You're not even at, if you look at the 4 million, or go up there to the 3,000,004, or right above it where it says 3,465,000,
Yes.
you're at 88% of that number. That's where your fixed cost is fixed. But that claim line, that means you're to the good by 12%.
For 10 out of 12 months.
Yeah, 10 out of 12 months, yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And Mr. Rhodes, your recommendation is to add the gene therapy?
I would recommend it, barring that, it's not excluded. If we have already excluded through, Unified, then we would just take it out and we wouldn't include it.
And do the rest of your plans have any way for the users to pay for it? In other words, are we raising premiums or costs in any way that's gonna
Yes.
be $5 extra a month or whatever?
Short answer, yes, we just haven't decided on what yet. But, to what degree yet, but we're still working the ins and outs of that.
Max, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree
Put
with
you on the
it.
spot too while you're here.
Yeah, I mean, we had just a few others in town, we just did a renewal for 10-1, we rolled it out for them, a car dealership here in town, but yeah, I mean, we're seeing it more and more. It's just kind of that extra protection, the catch-22, like you guys said.
Is that something we can exclude at this point, if we haven't already?
We could, then at our next renewal add it, is that what you mean? Or you mean?
Yeah, we could bring that.
If it's not already excluded.
Well, that's your plan. I mean, you have, there's nothing government, from the government perspective that says you can't do that. It's just like specialty drugs. Technically, you could exclude specialty drugs. That's the big cost item right now. The brand and generic in the pharmacy world, it was push everybody to generic. And you're probably like other groups, 85% or more of your pharmacy is probably generic now. Well, now all of a sudden we got the new specialty drugs coming out there where, that's kind of driving the market. And that's where TrueScript, works with you to try to see, can we get patient assistance, copay assistance, some of those things. But yeah, you can put that in. It's just, you gotta understand, if we have one, and that's gonna be, it would be all on the member as far as, and something they just have to look at in the marketplace. Is there any grants or anything that's out there available to them? But I mean, we can do homework on that here in the next couple of days for you. You just, if you renew subject to, us giving you, is it already excluded or can it be excluded?
And then the question becomes, if we can exclude it, are we willing to pay $2 a month and have it covered, or exclude it and possibly have a member who really needs it that can't have it?
Right. So financially, that would be in our best interest, but is that policy morally, employee-wise, the best thing?
Right.
But I guess really, if it's not excluded already, it's already covered. It's just, this is another layer of protection. All right, I'm fine with it. I think I'll just decide that my vote would be to leave it in.
I think I agree.
Okay. Please continue. I think we agreed to leave it in.
Okay, do you want to?
I mean, check to make sure we don't have to
Okay.
exclude it.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with our plan.
So are we going with the recommendation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're just gonna.
Yeah.
We have to vote on that now.
Motion to go with-
Saying yes to it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think that's where we're gonna end up, but is there any more of your presentation?
No, not on mine, and Max is gonna go over the items we want to talk today about. One in particular would be a pharmacy option, kind of important to consider too.
Okay, so I'll move that the board take the recommended HCC stealth medical plan I don't know what you call it, ASO, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Second.
Any other discussion? Any other comments from, anybody? Public, no? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
For International Pharmacy. So this is revolving around, I know you guys have seen this before, from a previous broker, and then we also kind of talked about it. When we're going through the RFP, but so this is International Pharmacy. So the big thing, keep in mind, this is not replacing TrueScripts or anything. This is basically kind of like an add-on. And this international thing, it's really blown up recently. I mean, we have some clients, Dan, you said you've been doing it for 5-6 years with them now. Yeah. So basically what this does, it's another added layer to the TrueScripts. You'll see this is from 7 months. We ran this, RxProtect ran this. So basically what we did, we took your claims with TrueScripts, we provided that claim file to RxProtect, and they run that in real time what these actual dollars are. So you look at what your plan costs. So this is for 7 months. I think this was from January through July of this year. You'll see what the plan cost was. Then you also see the net savings opportunity to the plan. Keep in mind that net savings if you have 100% participation, which you won't. Typically we see around 20 to 30% participation. But the big thing, what we really target is obviously the big prescriptions that are on there. If you do flip it to the back, we'll kind of just hit it real quick. That's where the prescriptions that are hitting your plan. You'll see there's 2 big ones, and then we've talked with Marky about these, the savings opportunity. So you'll see basically for 7 months, the savings opportunity for these 2 members would be about $57,000, and I should say savings to the plan. So with International Pharmacy, I think 90% of all the prescriptions, they come from Canada. They all come from basically all tier 1 countries, and they are 90-day supplies. And this is 100%, the member has to opt into it. What's really nice and what incentivizes that member to do that, because you'll say, you know what, why is this person, I like this driving right down the road to Sheldon's and picking this up. What's really nice is the member, it's a $0 copay for the members to get on this. They don't pay anything for this prescription. It's shipped directly to their home, a 90-day supply. And it's, that's the big incentivize for the
None of
members.
these drugs have to be made on site, or they don't have to be temperature controlled or anything that excludes them from being shipped from somewhere else.
Yeah, these are the ones that would be eligible.
These are eligible.
Eligible, yeah, some, you're right, some, now they do, I had one, a Stelara drug over in Owensboro where a member was on copay assistance, and that Stelara drug fell off. Because the copay assistance is only as good as long as the manufacturer offers it. So we had Stelara shipped to her, and it was shipped in a cooler. So they make sure when they say tier 1 countries, everything, tier 1 means it's FDA or better quality. I mean, they have the same requirements as the FDA does in the United States. The only difference is you're not getting all the markup of these. It's the same drug. I just had one for me over a month ago. I was getting samples from the doctor. I went to fill the drug, and it was going to have a high deductible plan. It was going to cost me almost $1,000 for a 30-day supply. And I reached out to TrueScript, and the member is completely voluntary to me because Houchins offers it we offer it to our employees too, the same program. Completely voluntary to me. I asked TrueScript, is this drug eligible under international? And it was. So the difference was I went from that $800 or $1,000 to $0 out of my pocket. Houchins went to about $200, $250 for the cost of that drug for 30 days. The drug, when I got it, like you said, 90% of the drugs are coming from Canada. The other 10 comes from those other tier 1 countries, depending on. I took it out of the thing, it's the same pill, same identical pill that I was taking in the samples. So a lot of times when people think, well, yeah, but a lot of times it comes right out of the same manufacturer's package. It's just coming from these 5 countries. And it's being shipped to them.
Brand names?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, generic will never fall under this harsh. It's the brand name. It's the higher dose drugs. Yeah. The only other one on there sometimes. This is every group can be a little different because this is where TrueScript goes in and identifies what's being prescribed now for your plan. That picture could change a little bit next year. So this is what they were able to identify. You'll have some can get diabetics can get insulin even through this program. Now, I'm always a little careful. My wife's a diabetic. She's also a nurse, and you've got to be really careful what you tell a diabetic because, that's, you don't want to have a big disruption to them. They're used to their drug coming from next time she's related to. You got to be, I'm always real careful with the diabetics because, that's very important. If you can't, we don't sit in there, I don't have her condition, so I know what her peace of mind. So we're always a little careful. TrueScript does do an outreach. Let's say, for an example, you had with these members, what happens after the day, and if you agree to it, because there is no downside to the county. If nobody uses it and we put it in, there's no cost to the county. It's only as used and there's no cost in. What happens is they get paid part of the savings, which you're not seeing now anyway. Okay, so there's no downsides. You're not going to see when he said add-on, there's no per employee per month. The advantage is you're going to save as it's used. So we might have, this is based on 100%. If we got 30%, and if you start to get word of mouth, because TrueScript is going to reach out to them and let them know what's available to them. It's ultimately your member's decision to do that because we don't encourage any employer to mandate this program.
If the employees all say no, then it didn't do anything to us.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, for example, we got one employee that's on there. Currently, they were using the drug card, so they've been getting it for essentially zero up through September, or let's say August. Now, our specialty is 50%. So now, the employee is paying 50% because the drug card's gone. It's expired. So now, they're gonna pay 50% of that drug cost. And being on there, if we had this plan and they would say, hey, I want to sign up for this, then they go back to zero. Of course, it would save the plan because we wouldn't be paying astronomical prices, we'd be paying that savings. So that's where it's kind of good for the employee as well, but totally voluntary, like I said.
What cut does RX Protect take? I mean, if it's $100 savings, what do they get? Or what's their savings? Are you allowed to say?
I don't know offhand. It was in his email too. I can check back and let you know that.
It's not very, it might be 2 or 3% of the savings. What happens is, right, the example we have on your plan right now, you have a member, there's 2 ways you get, the doctor can give them a copay card and that encourages them to go out and buy the expensive drug that does not protect the county.
Right.
We had that with Humira. Everybody's going out and getting Humira, which was it was all coming to you guys as far as expense. Members not paying anything. Well, those cards are only good for like 9 or 10 months a year, and then they expire. And at the tail end of the year, you have a member now being exposed. Whereas with the international, it's zero copay year round, so you're not at the mercy of the pharmaceutical company deciding we don't want to offer a copay card anymore. So
It sounds like what a drug dealer does.
yeah. Anyway, it's a very
The first one is free.
yeah.
9
And
months
that's what they
later,
do.
9 months later,
Yeah.
you're on it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to switch then after 9
Yeah,
months.
exactly. Well, that's what happens. And you ask it, and sometimes when you'd ask the physician, are they aware? But they'll say they're not, but they are. They got to be because it's pushing people to the most expensive drugs because they don't know. A lot of times your member doesn't realize what the cost is until they're confronted with it. And you say, hey, did you know it costs this much? No, I didn't realize it because I would have done this. So all we're trying to do is just outreach to the employees because you've worked with TrueScript. They're really good at this. Is something they're recommending because they can cost save. They can get patient assistance and copay assistance to a degree, but they can't. It's not available to every drug like this. So when they do this is the drugs we picked up that are one of them is you've got an active drug in your plan now that we can impact, and it happens to be one of the lasers on there that we can work. Again, all voluntary. It won't be anything that. I've had very good results with TrueScript. I've never had a member come back or a client come back and complain about.
Is it still legally gray?
I'm sorry?
The program, I mean, we talked about this for 7 years, Nick?
Yeah. Probably give or take.
And it's been legally gray every year. Is it still
Well,
gray?
early on, yeah, it's probably more defined now than it's ever been. More and more employers are using it.
Yeah, any employers here have any hassle from anybody on anything?
Not that I'm aware of, because we even have it as Hutchins, and we've had it 5 or 6 years in our
You ready to move forward with it? I am. I think
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was gonna make one note too. They've got, protection for the employee on there too. Whereas, a lot of people's like, I'm afraid I don't get this thing in the mail. Let's say I gotta get it tomorrow. Is it gonna come in the mail tomorrow? So if it doesn't, for some reason it's delayed, they can go to CVS, Sheldon's, wherever, because the drugs that's on that list, they can get them at the pharmacy. And that's that built-in protection, so the employee, dependents, family, they'll never be without their medication in case of an emergency or something. So,
Typically, if someone gets a drug prescribed now, it takes about, typically the International Drug Program will recommend they get one fill at the pharmacy. First of all, you want to make sure that drug is going to work for them.
Sure.
And that way allows them enough time to set it up, but they also want to make sure it's not you don't want to set something up that the member can't tolerate. So that's why you'll see, and like, great point, if something were to happen, they have I had tracking and everything. They called me more than once to tell me the tracking number, leave a voicemail with me. So the International doesn't communicate with the member to let them know exactly where that drug is, when to expect it.
So I'll move that we approve adding the RX protection to the county plan.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Just the stop loss thing, that's the
For the
thing.
first item?
Yeah, first item there, so.
Oh, yes. I think that was a different one. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
This next one we'll go through pretty quick. This one's just pretty straightforward. So with your guys' HRI, Paramount, your dental was up for renewal this year, meaning basically they come back and just re-rate you and underwrite you. What you'll see in the yellow, if you look to the far left in the bottom in the yellow, you'll see your current rates of $27.75. Paramount came back and said your renewal going forward, this same benefit, same exact thing you have, and you see is bumping up there to $28.86. Then we went back to them and said, well, if you're going to bump them up, can you at least give us a 2-year rate or a 3-year rate, which they did, and they came back, and you see in the white over there at the bottom, that's for a 2-year rate hold, that $29.73. We talked with Marky, we recommend just doing the 28, and then we can go back and try to get them, next year, renegotiate with them. I wouldn't take the add-on now if that's what we would recommend. But same benefits, same exact thing, just it was up for renewal this year.
And we did go to.
We quoted Delta Dental, which has been pushing more and more in this area. Most employers around here use Paramount. I really don't know a whole lot that use anyone else. Delta came in, I think it was like $31.80. Right around there.
It was more expensive, and so we didn't want to disrupt the coverage, so obviously pay more or less than it. So
I don't remember the email he sent Monday or Friday or something. Was there something where dental was getting mixed in with something else?
Yeah, and that's my next one here. Did you expect that email come through to you?
Well, he said.
Oh, okay.
So we don't take any action on this till you explain the next thing?
What's that?
We don't have to take action on the current.
So this would this would just be kind of your, whatever you would decide. This is just for the dental.
This next thing.
Next one would be for vision. Yeah.
So, I'm fine with just moving with the, 1-year renewal. Anybody have any problem there?
No.
All right, I'll move that we, do the 1-year renewal for the dental plan with Paramount Dental.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And this one here will be for the vision. So currently you all utilize here at the county VSP, and I think you have been for a few years. What we did is we went out and marketed to Paramount. It's called iMed, if you're familiar with it. We recommended, if you see there in the yellow, the highlighted, we recommended a move to iMed. Just recently, iMed has really came on the market, and they're kind of really just hitting it hard. What's really nice with the iMed, and obviously the rates look great, but you also are getting a better benefit with the iMed. Currently, in most all vision carriers, they currently have, the allowance where you can go get your frames or get your contacts. But with most vision carriers and with your current VSP setup, it's every other year. So meaning if you need to get, frames and contacts in the same calendar, you can't use that $130 for both of them. You have to pick, hey, I'll use it this year for my frames, next year for my contacts. What's really nice with iMed, you'll see there, they're going to offer a $150 allowance. And what's really nice is you can use that in the same calendar year. So if you need to get your frames and your contacts, you utilize both. You can do that in the same year with IMED. That's what we recommended. We've been rolling this out to quite a few other employers around here recently. Great reviews. Marky and I, maybe Sandy's included in that as well. We looked up a ton of carriers or a ton of providers in the network around here for you all, so no problems with that either. But that's what we recommended to move with the lower rates and the better benefits, because Dan and I, we don't get to say that a whole lot, unfortunately, but we would recommend the move to IMED.
So just because that's why it says dental here, but it's really IMED.
Correct. So they kind of work together. What's also going to be nice for you too, Sandy, is it's going to get down to one bill. The dental and the vision will all be on one bill together for you.
So essentially, the Paramount would be the dental and the
Correct.
vision.
So Paramount's the company, it's just that.
Yeah.
They wrap the dental around, or the
Yeah.
vision around it.
It's a partnership with them.
What does it mean when they have under, it says IMED-EE 130 with PK, what does that mean?
That's the 130 allowance.
Okay, then the next one that we're looking at is 150 allowance.
Correct. We talked with Marky, and honestly, if you just do quick math on it, adding those $20 for each year, it makes sense to do the $6.49 instead of doing the $6. You're gaining more. You see that the first one? Yeah.
I'm looking to it, I'm trying to determine what's the difference between.
So yeah, if you look at the top, so you'll see some that say EE, that means employee paid, and then the two ones that say ER, that's employer paid. So since you all are voluntary, you'd be looking at the EE lines. So the first one there with IMED, then the third one. If that makes sense.
So I didn't look here, is it cheaper if the employer pays it?
Correct.
And
But
why is that?
currently you
Just because they know the cash is good? They don't
Correct,
have to hassle
yeah.
with it?
So you're paying for it, then probably you're enrolling everybody.
Yeah, so they think you're gonna get everyone involved.
Yeah.
And we don't have any of that budgeted.
Well, most employers aren't, it's all voluntary.
Yeah.
I wouldn't encourage that usually when you're trying to offer competitive medical.
And a 4-year rate, is that what, did VSP do that?
VSP's going through 2026, so 2 more years you have on. Well, 2 years would be from this coming year. Till 2026.
Sounds too good to be true, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, haven't heard all
Yeah.
More benefits at less cost.
Yeah.
I do like the idea, and I've had pain with that every 24 months on the frames, because I had a pair of frames got damaged, and I had to negotiate with the provider to get a good price, whereas having frames every 12 months kind of makes it nice.
We'll still every 24, but just you can use them in the
Well,
same
you can use
calendar
them,
year.
yeah.
Yeah, we did the disruption of service, we did go to BSP and IMED and our zip code, we pulled up the same exact providers that's in network, so.
Everything matched?
Yeah, so should be no disruption of coverages.
I'll move that we approve going with IMED-E 150, as been presented here.
I will second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
And Chad, you sign it, correct? You mentioned that?
Yes, I sent an email this morning
Okay.
that he would be getting.
Okay, yeah, you'll be getting a few emails of certain things, so.
It's an easy sign, electronic
Stop me sign, so.
I know how to do that.
Perfect. Well, thanks for your time this morning.
Is that it?
I think so.
Yep.
Do you guys have any other questions for them regarding benefits? So when are we coming back and do the rest of the discussions?
Should be in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that works for us.
Yep.
And anything you can get the board ahead of time so that we're not here for the first time at the meetings, so always appreciated.
Okay.
So if you say, hey, we want to raise the premiums $100, we hear about it ahead of time, we can ask questions.
I got that, okay.
Whatever.
No, that's good to know. I think that's all I got, Dan.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll open the public comment period. Doesn't look like we have any public comments probably. Anything from the attorney this week?
No, sir.
I have a question on the sheriff stuff, where are they disposing to?
The trash and roast.
If somebody wants something, then they just give it to them.
I think that's already been in process. Anything else from the auditor?
I don't think so, if that's everything I have here.
Commissioner Stefano,
Nothing here.
that's better.
I have nothing.
I looked through my papers, but I don't want to feel like I forgot something. I'm like, leave here, but I don't think I have anything.
I actually looked up the word because I didn't know. Somebody told me to, but I didn't know.
Okay.
Sandy, I don't know the emails.
All right, we'll close the meeting.